will be a best of 5. So, reminder, 7 map pool. You go ban, ban, pick, pick, ban, ban, and then decider as our final one. Drum roll, we're ready for it. It's our game, and here's the first 2. Coast and Oregon. Taken away, Jess.
Oh, Coast. What a map to take away there for Na'Vi.
They don't like it.
I know they don't like it, but do you think that could be something that they could have pulled out of the books into the playoffs here?
Na'Vi always say to me, they always say, you say we don't like Coast. We do like Coast. We just don't like playing it against anybody. And I'm like, well, that means you don't like Coast, Na'Vi. So it's not a surprise to see them take it away. Oregon from SSG, it's traditionally a Na'Vi stronghold map. So I see why they would want to get rid of that, because Na'Vi are strong on that map, even if their performance recently has not been so great on Oregon.
Well, looks like Chalet and Bank is going to be our maps, and I like Chalet. I am a little concerned that the following map after that is Bank, and it wasn't even picked by Na'Vi, which is concerning because I actually think Na'Vi has some of the best defensive strats on Bank. They are a great Bank team. I actually think, and look, shout out to Lycan, one of my favorite coaches in the world and dear friend of mine. I actually think, buddy, you've had a little slip up in the map ban here. What's going on?
One thing that SSG have done is, so traditionally through NAL, through Sweden Major, they didn't like Bank. It was their 6th preference map. Coming into the Invitational, it's now their 3rd preference map, 2nd preference map in the pool. They really liked it. Clubhouse is the decider. So,
why Bank?
I believe they think Na'Vi aren't great on Bank, and
when have they last played it?
They've had a recent resurgence on Bank in terms of SSG. They like it.
Yeah, but when?
It's comfort for them.
When did they last play Bank?
Na'Vi?
No. This is SSG now.
Oh, I'm only talking in preference here. It's banning preferences, not in terms of playing it.
For those who don't know,
Jess? You'll tell me that.
I'm literally looking back as far as I can. It is so far back that it's actually not on my stats here.
There you go.
So they've pulled this out of their pocket, and they're saying
they save strats for Invitational, Jess.
Oh, is this another team that has saved strats?
He's an analyst on G2 for like a few months, and he keeps on pulling it here.
You know this strat.
One final word on the decider. So
we're ready.
The decider is Clubhouse. SSG, Na'Vi need to win it in 2. It goes to Clubhouse. I do not see Na'Vi winning Clubhouse against SSG.
Doki's going to message you later and curse you for cursing him. Just remember this at the end of the day. I truly think SSG will take this in 2. I don't think Na'Vi is a strong international team, and they will at some point be, but not now. One
important thing to note. SSG had the choice of the 3rd place teams. They picked Na'Vi. They think they were the weakest out of the 3rd place teams. Na'Vi can use that as motivation to come firing out of the blocks here.
Sure.
Hopium is what the UK is built on in general, isn't it, Jess? Thank you very much, friends. Let's get this show on the road for Game 1. That's Spacestation Na'Vi to break down. When we come back, we'll talk about Elevate Sonics and launch our matches. See you in a moment. Welcome back, friends, to Six Invitational 2022. We just finished up one side of our analyst desk. We have another one with more beautiful people that join us on the desk. I'm Milosh. I'm kind of the okay person here. We got two wonderful persons on the desk with me, and color coordination is something that we work with. Although nobody actually plans for it, it just kind of happens.
We actually do every day.
Yeah. We reach out like, what color are we wearing today? And then we like send pictures and try and match it. So it would look really cool if this was unplanned, but I'll have to sadly inform that it is planned.
Yeah, on Mondays, we wear pink.
Shiny and pastel Andy over there sitting James to take us through it. You guys look fantastic, by the way. But first, since it's your first time, how are you feeling today?
Feeling good. I feel like we have a lot to talk about for the match that we have right here. So I'm ready to tell people what this match is all going to be about.
Yeah, we're in playoffs already. It's funny. We've only eliminated 4 teams, but we're already down to the top 16 and ready to get into it. We're doing upper brackets today as well, so we're going to start sending some teams deeper and closer to that grand final.
That's the expectation. That's what we're looking for. And let's talk about our APAC team. We have some APAC representation. I'm told you come from
a land down under.
A land down under. There you go. So what's going to happen with Elevate? They're our first team. Let's bring them up on the screen for everybody watching at home. If you're not used to seeing the squad, you should be watching more APAC South. And of course, we have our APAC South representative in Dev Marta. Walk us through it, please.
Yeah, so look, Elevate are a team that have come through and really surprised a lot of people so far at the Six Invitational. They hail from Thailand, and this is actually not only these players' debut at an international event, but Thailand as a country, their debut on the global stage here at Six Invitational. They've already had a pretty phenomenal performance. They've taken down 2 North American teams and finished second in their group. So they were actually the one who was given the option of choosing Sonics as their opponents in the bracket.
Yeah, and I feel like I had a little bit of a look at the predictions for this game coming up. And I mean, coming into this tournament, Elevate not having played an international tournament so far, people would maybe expect them to be the underdogs. But as the tournament proceeded, people started vouching for Elevate more and more. And even with the CGG predictions right now, it's looking like people are definitely going to favor Elevate. And I'm having a little bit of concerns for that.
Why?
Because Elevate themselves said, oh, we finished first in APAC Stage 1, but then everyone else made it their target to take us down. So potentially, right now, they are no longer in that underdog spot. People start seeing them as really viable opponents, and they will do everything to take them down.
Got to be careful when you play against Elevate. They flew under the radar for long enough, haven't they, James?
They absolutely did, and I think that they've certainly made a name for themselves now. They're known for this insanely aggressive playstyle. Take fights, take initiative, get in there, spawn peaks. Napu and Onigiri just going to run around, and now with Nerix on the roster as well, these guys are pretty much unstoppable.
Sonics now, their opponents from the North American League. What's their preparation for today, Anne?
The preparation for today is, well, I think something that they're very much happy with is that they finally made it out of groups of an international tournament. They didn't manage to do so in Sweden, they didn't manage to do so in Mexico, and now they finally did. And something that they said that really helped them improve and finally get out of groups is the fact that they've been extending their map pool a lot. So they say themselves, we play all potential 7 maps that they're on. We do see them ban Cafe quite a lot. It seems to be their worst map too. So something that they have definitely improved on is getting the map pool to be bigger. And well, they had a game where they were up 6-3 against Empire and they still lost it. Something that they said that didn't work out well for them back then was they didn't really play out the last 30 seconds of the round well, but they aren't worried because they said apart from that, we played really good, so they're not worried.
Did you echo that, James?
Look, yeah, we can't forget that Sonics actually won the North American League finals. A lot of people look at NAL and they think, okay, the big teams out there, SSG, TSM, these huge names that have been staples and won championships or been runners-up at championships in the past. And Sonics are here like, oi, we demand some respect. Have a look at us. We are here to make a statement. We've come into the upper bracket, and I think a lot of people have been looking at these guys for a while and saying, when are you going to take that next step, right? It's only been a year since they completely revitalized their roster and built it around their captain, Super. They picked up 4 gunners from a previously relegated Team E United, and, well, they've managed to make something amazing out of that.
Yeah, if I can mention one of those gunners, I'm definitely going to have to talk about Grixter. I mean, if you look at the statistics for this event so far, we all know Nesk is topping most of them, but actually it's Grixter right underneath him, just for rating as well as for the KD. And I'm going to make a little bit of a mathematical equation right here. If Grixter is alive and around, a round is winnable.
Well, I guess the reverse of that is if you manage to kill Grixer, you're like, all right, we've won here.
Potentially, yeah, for sure.
That's something to look into. These top players that are being shut down. I mean, talked about it earlier today in our pre-show. Like, yes, Sonics are a strong team. That's the staple. They kind of developed it. We know that they're a good team. It's just getting to that, you know, the one more level that they need to head into the top internationally. That's something that takes a lot of time.
They've actually already taken a step. I know this is something we were chatting about before we went live, and they've taken a massive step forward compared to their previous events. These guys attended both Mexico and the Sweden major, but neither time did they make it out of groups. They finally changed that, and they're here in the playoffs at 6 Invitational. But can they actually take the next step above top 16? It's going to be a huge challenge for them because, like we've said, Elevate now have far more expectation.
Our maps are ready, friends. Let's bring them up on the screen. Again, 7-map pool, ban, pick, ban, decider. And could you take us through it?
Yeah, I mentioned before how Sonic said, like, oh, Cafe, we play all the maps and everything. Cafe, however, it is their insta-ban, and that will also be the first map that they decide to ban here, so that makes a lot of sense. First ban coming in for Elevate will be Coastline. It is a map that Sonic so far had a pretty poor performance on, but something that could really favor Elevate is they haven't played this map yet. Nobody knows how to play against Elevate, and that might be their stronger point.
Yeah, there's already a couple curveballs thrown in here. When we were theory crafting this map video, we thought for sure that Elevate was going to ban Chalet, but like you said, Coastline instead, and that leaves quite a few maps open. Elevate's actually going to pick Clubhouse after Sonic's pick Villa. Villa is a really curious one. I theory crafted that Elevate would ban this. It is their most banned map in the last several months since Stage 3. So Sonic should be fairly comfortable going into that map number 1, despite us not having a lot of info on it. It's been the decider for a couple of their matches that haven't gone to map 3 so far in SI, but we don't have a ton of info on how they'll actually play that. Clubhouse, a surprising pick for Elevate to me. Really would have thought they'd go Oregon.
Yeah, I would assume so indeed. If you have then the ban coming in from Sonics, makes sense because they ban it a lot. And then you have the option to either play Chalet or play Oregon. Well, Chalet is not necessarily a good map for Elevate, so Oregon is a great map to leave that open for a decider.
If anything, you would have thought that Elevate would actually pick Oregon. It is statistically their most won map in the last couple months. It's 14-3 is their record on that map. They even beat TSM in a close 8-7 overtime just a couple of days ago. So Elevate are coming into this, and I think that they're going to be happy with their map pick and their opponents, but Sonic should be fairly comfy on Villa.
Yeah, I mean, fairly comfy on Villa, and I do really want to talk about that decider Oregon. We talked about before about how essential it is that people don't know how to play against Elevate. It is a map that Elevate's played a lot, like you said, also in this current event, so there will be a lot of VODs, and that is a good opportunity for Sonics to make sure that they know how to play against Elevate.
Thank you very much, friends. There's a lot of theory crafting happening here on the Analyst Desk, and it's literally what we love.
Yeah.
We love to sit here and say, okay, here's the record over the past few months, here's the record in the last week, and here's how all the players kind of shape up against one another. But James, and thank you very much always for giving us this information. We are ready to go. SSG Na'Vi, Elevate Sonics. Let's get this game up and ready. Enjoy.
And thank you. Yeah, it has been a little while before our match was being discussed, but it is February 14th. And as a result, I have a little card or gift, as you may, for everybody. So here you go.
Can I open it?
You can open it. You can open it for everybody.
To everybody at this day of SSG versus Navi. It's a banger. It's going to be a banger of a match that we're about to have here right now. NA versus EU. Two big teams that, you know, they weren't coming in specifically as the region favorites.
No.
But they have people and players that have held the grandest trophies or held major trophies.
For sure.
It is this sort of definition of, for me, classical Siege faces. Classical Siege enterprises, they're not really underdog teams. They're not up-and-coming teams. It's two giants that are about to go head-to-head. And whether they are in this position of we're favorites or not, you know that they're still always going to be a potential contender.
Yeah, for sure. And as well, Navi went in actually with a bit of an inconsistent year end. They also didn't really start off too strong here. So you say they're not the underdog, but in this game, I think they are definitely the underdog. I think most of us, the people at home will think that they have it. I mean, the 28%. It's rough for the UK massive, but hey.
I mean, rough. The thing is, Navi has this problem where they don't always pop. when they do, when you have Doki, when you have Blur as a duo going absolutely huge, when you have all of these things hitting connections, they're terrifying. They're unstoppable. They are a team that absolutely rips apart a server. But that consistency of those two players, the confidence of those two players, it isn't always that. It's not always something that they can sort of have as a reliance. It's, you know, it's a huge amount of potential.
Here as the bends are slowly running out, we have the Nomad removed from the side of Spacestation Gaming, which is of course going to be guiding any of these run-outs. Mute being the last band to come in. I like the floors again, a lot of the utility often, of course, removed with those RC Retiros. And as the bends have shaped up. Let's get underway with round number 1.
What do you think of the map ban?
The map ban?
Yeah, the map ban. Obviously, Chalet, Bank, and Club as the ender. Jess believed it would be a 2-0. Believed that SSG... Whereas there seemed to be this conversation from Fresh where he was sort of insinuating, why have they gone to Bank?
Yeah, it is questionable, but I think I'm going to agree with Jess here. I think a 2-0 should be in the works for SSG. Of course, never really know what has been hidden up until this point, what they have been able to make up for in the off day that we had yesterday, of course. Because I mentioned it before, Na'Vi -15 in round count. It is not the best round differential to have to actually proceed towards these playoffs, whereas Space Station Gaming currently on +7, also on +3 maps, whereas Na'Vi is -2. So they have a lot to prove here. But they also had that off day. They had that moment where they could quickly reconvene, see what they need to improve on, and if there's maybe anything they have upon the Space Station Gaming side of things, to make sure that they found accurate ways to counter them.
Chalet, Na'Vi, they're leading in on their defense, regardless of the fact that it's their map. And what you're looking at here is an SSG that's more confident in the attack. Chalet does work very well on attack. And NA, for me, are a great attacking team. They were, when Chalet was sort of reintroduced, some of the first growth into what can be offered. Love to see a bit of Zero. We're going to see some control of the space and a fight already happening over onto the helipad. It's camera work, it's intel, it is drones hidden in plants and cameras hidden in beams. And that is what they're going to sort of try and control here with the Lion, with that approach that North America loves to bring.
For sure, and over the first event where Chalet was being brought, I believe they were even flawless over the entirety of it with Chalet, up until they, of course, reached the Brazilians later on in the tournament, and they were able to beat them on it. Either way, 2 minutes 20 on that clock. 40 seconds have passed, and as the cameras are outside, Doki gets some good information out on one of the players, but of course cannot really act upon it as of yet. Might will have to drop through the hatch if it is opened up, go for a run out in the trench area, but is not going to be happening at all. Camera has been taken out, and that means that they're aware of the fact that there is information upon them. But a little amount of time is being wasted, just slowly and steadily. And as they're taking that southern side of the building, there is still that top floor control on the side of Na'Vi.
Look how quick they've been able to get themselves. We're already sort of putting pressure here onto the bottom of box. They're trying to get underneath. They're going to get box wall cracked open, and then they can lean in towards that dining side push, that approach. Secretly, he finds the head of Fault. Opens up. You could see he was sort of fishing for the angle. He doesn't need to hold this till death, like other power positions, but the more problems he can cause here, I mean, that's 20, 30 seconds that'll be wasted, and including a player too, it's a bit of a bargain here. The E1Ds start to pop. They're seeing if they can try and get a bit of a collapse here around the multiple sides. They're cutting off the escape routes with the window control on bathroom, potentially. They want to force and funnel them into these awkward angles. The pings are coming through, and at this point, secretly, it's either a mad dash to survive, or he's just going to see if he can stick. The grenade should not quite clear all the way through. Sky suffers in the meantime, but Rampy's able to find Blur. There it is. Finally fishing, but under the minute mark.
Yeah, still trying to get that top floor under full control. Saves is still a bit in between on those back stairs. Could instantly go down or up, depending on what's necessary. And surely as soon as they start opening up all this verticality, it's Doki that strikes back. Houghton will be taken out. And for now at least, the wall still stays closed. There is that verticality that has been made though. They could use it to try and get rid of any form of electrification that's out there that has been placed by Saves. And that's exactly what Bosco needs to do. As they get into a position, it seems like a full rotate up to the top floor is on its way. They are not quite ready. They need some more, and thus will decide to use some Excars, it seems like. No, just on the hatch. I was afraid they were going to use it some verticality for a second.
Well, it's 15 seconds, and they got to see if they can strong arm themselves into the plant. They barely have much cover, so it's going to be a little bit hot, quick, and aggressive here. They're trying to find that body all the way back on Trophy. The pings are consistent in the E1D. Rampy's gone wide to get it, but it's Bosco that's able to find the first. Doki hits back, and the diffuser's cold. Na'Vi hold on for that opening round.
Our time was well played by the side of Space Station in that first part of the round where they had the complete library and fireplace under control. They started to struggle as soon as they needed to break into the office. It was Saves playing there behind the half-wall. And normally you would say, all right, we can put up some pressure from below, but that was the actual side, secretly, I mean, which is quite difficult in that moment in time. You need to get these grenades out or go for a synchronized push, but with the extra cover that was out there as well, you could not just walk and waltz into the piano to try and see if you could find secretly right behind that half wall. And, you know, eventually they did get both those entries, but a lot of time was already wasted. The hatch was still closed, and Doki fighting back from below, able to pick up some important kill on Houghton as well.
I think that's it. Doki obviously found that sort of reverse vertical as his opener, and then suddenly to find the two more in that dying 20 seconds of the round as well. It's the conversation, again, if I'm going to allude to what was talked about on desk, that Doki versus Houghton fight. That sort of story of two players that when they're popping off, they're very hard to stop and slow down. And, you know, we're a little bit into this. We're only going to get the full taste of the range of how they're playing on the day when we get a little bit deeper into it. But to get a hold of that pace, to get a sort of wrap on that statistic and try and drive it a little bit further and further, especially on a map like this where SSG, they're leading on the attack. It's the preferred side. They are the ones that are supposed to be applying the pace. If you can keep that arm's length, if you can sort of keep them rebuffed, well, that might start to spell a better time on their attack when Na'Vi have to swap over.
For sure, and you know, the timer is always still that 6-man on the side of the defenders, and Na'Vi managed to play that quite well in the end there. Of course, they gifted a lot of ground at the start of the round, but afterwards they stayed put. They weren't really giving any opening over to the side of the Space Station camp, and really ran out of time. They had to drop the hatch with 15 seconds left and hope to find fights elsewhere. None of them really went their way. Important ping, though, coming through. They now know Saves is out here on top of that hatch, and they need to find a way to deal with it. Sometimes we do see a grenade coming in from the small window right besides him. But as he has been spotted out, he's still quite aggressive, I dare to say, when he was just swinging a little bit too much to the right. Is he aware? There's the drone. He now knows.
He's not going to stick around too long. With that window burst underneath, he knew that there was an intense amount of pressure. It's just a bit of grenade fishing, and as proven by the statistic at the start of this day, both these teams very good at that. Fultz is just going to see if he can get a catch on the backside angle there with the Maverick assistance, but he can't quite get themselves all the way through to the body on supply. Secretly, he's still sort of a bit cautious here of the swing round up from Snowmo stairs. He has those canisters if things get a little bit too hot and bothered, but it's quite an aggressive position for the smoke to be in because of the work to pull that supply line corner out. No one can really dig themselves in there right now. Doki, he's on a bit of a wide flank. I think we saw a flicker of a drone there to give the idea that, well, they have an idea of where he is. It's going to be sort of trying to draw some focus, attention, and if he can, go for a fight. Very different to how he played the previous round where he was buried inside the site. This time, he's everywhere but as Blur is the first engagement out over the balcony.
On a call, we'll be able to find Saves as he just used that earlier made hole by the Maverick gas canisters. The trades are coming out, however, Skies is pushed back as he will have to cancel the plan. The second smoke canister will be used, dealing a lot of damage there, but he somehow just manages to live. Secretly digs in deep, but they have to be very careful to not use the pantry here because Hot and Cold is still in the position where he can just move up those staircases and just cut off that rotation.
That's the thing, where Hot and Cold is such a big blow to how you hold this. Tried to get a grenade through, can't quite get the catch. But still, it's a pressure. Secretly, he gets taken from above. They lose that last canister, but the diffuser goes cold outside the double window. A swing up blue goes into Nate's favor. And suddenly, SSG, they have a lot of time, but they don't have the kit, and it's only really Rampy up. Could do a pickup, and is going to opt for that instead. No, actually, pulls himself up and presses the button, hoping and assuming somebody would swing in on him. It was always the other option. But now, as Rampy, he suffers. He's trying to find his way into the small little jump box and has a reload 20 seconds. Whatever they try and stick next is going to be the only thing that they can try and stick the rest of this round. Creep.
I was going to say, this guy's moving up on the back stairs right here. will be able to find at least one, and is going to pick up that kill as well. So 2 and 2, 10 seconds left on the clock. They need to force themselves through. However, Doki can and have the opportunity to come up right behind them. Blur as well in a position from above to try and cancel this plan, but it seems like it might be going down. Blur is not in the right position to cancel it. Eventually will, however. It was getting very close there. Missed the last couple of shots with the pistol. But they still managed to it doesn't look pretty well.
He lent one way. He was caught out there because I think he was instantly like mid-movement trying to find his way through that rotate, and then he'd already pressed. I'm going to say, I was going to say Q there, but obviously people can rebind their leans.
Yeah. Some people do it with their mouse. They have a mouse that can...
Oh, they do.
They can just move with the lean.
And we're having a quick timeout here. I'm assuming SSGs, because
I'm assuming as well.
You want to have the momentum and the energy on your attacks. You want to be able to bring it together, so they're just going to get themselves a team talk. Yeah, well, you know how all the players have talent rooms? You might have seen a video on Demo's Twitter of the energy in the player spaces. If you don't know, obviously everyone is in their own little booths, in their own little like play area with about 6 PCs in. And you can't see anyone else's, obviously. They're all special locked doors in a row. But you can hear, you can shout, and there's a lot of shouting.
Of course you can.
Yeah.
I wonder if we do it now, even... I
don't know. Well, we have a room now.
We have a room as well.
If anyone wants to scrim the talent...
If anybody needs a scrim, we will get up roughly around the same time as the players.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's...
Eminem, we're looking at you.
It's like a T-hunt. In that we know the strats, but we probably aren't going to be able to shoot back as well. Maybe. Demo and Stokes. Demo and Sam can do everything, and then we'll just
do the back line. We'll just run in and plant under the cover of an E1D.
We actually did a 4 versus 4 talent scrim as well. And
okay, yeah.
It was me, Demo, Fresh, and Jacob versus Stokes, XR Troika, Anne, and Dez.
Okay, who won?
We won.
Okay.
And we won whilst Jacob was in the other scrim room. For some reason.
But he can then feed that information over to you.
Yeah, but we couldn't communicate with him. It was on Chalet, actually.
Talk in game.
Anyway, we're back in. We filled a minute. And it was a bit of an early call, and as we said, there's not too much to break down about this because SSG are leading on their attacks. It's not their map. Chalet can be a good map for them, but it's not their map choice here. And they know that they want to hit that 4-2 before they go into the end of the half because the map is decidedly favored towards attackers, not only by their statistic, but by general statistics. And the most important thing here, as we sort of briefly alluded to, is momentum, is rhythm. Yep. You want to slow down Na'Vi because they're a team that can cook, and they're a team that, as that sort of boils and boils and boils, it gets better and better and better. Slow it down a little bit early, see if you can try and pull this next one. Either way, you've broken a bit of momentum, and
I'm just gonna wreck your world here.
Go on.
It was a tech timeout.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Just heard that over the comms. Either way,
they tell you that and not me.
I don't know. Maybe not.
They wanted me to make a fool of myself. How dare you? No, it's fine. Okay, well then, disregard everything I just said about it being a team talk. Apparently it wasn't. I was.
They still have a talk, just not with light.
Well, that's the thing. They can still have a team talk, and I'm still gonna, I guess, hazard the point that I think it's good to break the momentum for SSG anyway. Oh.
Very early opening into the wine cellar. I'm not a real big fan of the site still, but teams are starting to make it work. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one will go. SSG tries to go and take some top floor control. They want to put up the pace, but Blur is ready. Blur is waiting. Pre-fires a little bit through the wall, at least makes his position known, but this will also stall out some time. Filks trying to bring back those bullets around, and Doki around the corner will be able to pick up one. Is that one around the corner? Yeah, that's one more. Doki with a double, and he goes for a third. Doki! I was waiting for it. Is he going to hit it? Yes, indeed, he will. And now, Gotham will also drop by Nafe. It's only up to Skies, and he, you see it in his face. He's like, all right, we'll run. This is, I don't know what this is. This didn't really go as planned. Let's just use this as a bit of a 90-second timeout and talk. Okay. Because how did Doki sneak up, get a double kill? The third one, I understand. That's just you trying to refrag, but he wins the gunfight because he knew where you were.
Okay, maybe at this point they will take a tactic.
Maybe they will take the tactic now.
It was just huge from Doki. And this is that rhythm and momentum player, as I said. When he hits hard. He's currently 7-0-0. He is the best version of a 007 meme in that it's reversed.
He's 700. Oh.
Oh no.
Triple O's.
SSG, this is their time to talk. Because for a team that is, as I sort of highlighted at the beginning, they're very, very concise with their intel. They are usually very much in control of that game, and, you know, Doki's found a way through. And Na'Vi's found a way through. It's a bigger blow in that, okay, he pulled off a huge triple kill, and as you said, the third rotation, Blur. He's sick of waiting.
Of course they are. I mean, at this point, they know it's going to be a tech timeout.
At some point, there'll be Zeds put in chat. In a lot of other games.
They're just talking.
They're talking. That's entirely what this is. They're having a conversation. Yeah. Anyone would do the same if you lost everyone within the opening.
I was going to say, we could even swap to the full team chem at this point, but at that moment, Skies actually got active again and decided to, you know what, 10 seconds, let's warm up the Q&E spam. Might be of benefit later on.
You'll get back in the helicopter.
Get back in the helicopter, fly off, and bring in a new team for the next round.
That can't breach that. That's not breachable.
All right, and with that, Na'Vi have. Oh, okay, yeah. I already heard you say. Oh, I understand now. When I look at the.
Yeah, the wall didn't break.
Yeah, the wall didn't break. Well, the hard part did. The soft one did not. But it's 0-3, and Na'Vi are in that lead. I know Jack is absolutely vibing right now in the back room because every single time they win a round, he is the loudest out there. And so is Na'Vi. They're also vibing about it. Okay, that was a very good round. Doki, well played by him. Able to just sneak up, get a triple kill as a result. And now round number 4 underway. Kitchen Dining will be back on the board as the complete rotation has been made. And now to try and do it for a second time in a row here.
So, back to Kitchen, back to the play that might come together. As we said, the starting approach of this from SSG was good, but then they couldn't quite get the solidity on Secretly, who played to his death up on the other side of the short wall, up on the other side of box. He ensured that there was some of this hold on, this lockdown, and it came to the end of a grenade. At least another one was thrown at him, as well as however many burnables before. And then obviously he opened it. So I would say that the last time we were here, a lot of the play that came out at the end was the work of Secret on the back line. But I guess it's the conversation now of SSG. Are they going to potentially look to see if they can apply some split pressure, maybe try and take a little bit more control of blue, rather than just funneling from the box side and the sort of width that it offers, or see if they can try and capitalize on piano first, because they'd set themselves up on windows over there, but I believe that they hadn't actually got a little bit more pressure or access inside the building yet, because, obviously because of other players that are playing around there, but still it might be a turn of focus towards them first rather than the breach.
He's looking out at the library window. Fultz is afraid that someone might be going for a bit of a spawn peek here, and he's checking them all. But it's actually a camera that got tossed outside. I'm not quite sure where it landed, but there is someone right next to it. It's a claimer that gets put up. He just saved his own life without even realizing it, because otherwise Doki would have just jumped out on him. There it is. It's on that ground. He knew exactly where he was going, but he wanted to make sure that Fultz was on a drone, for example. That would have been the safe way for him to go for that jump out and pick up a free kill. But Spacestation have no clue the camera's out there currently. I mean, they might know there is a Valkyrie on the board. They might realize that soon. However, they don't know that they're currently being spotted.
That's it. I mean, this one's much further away than it was before. They found the previous camera based on its location. It's one of those things, because if you hit it in the dark, if you hit it in the sort of gravelly bits of, well, by the cars, it's really hard to spot. You put it in the white and the snow, it's so obvious.
Yeah, it's this black dot in the middle.
Yeah, black dot that occasionally glows blue. And it's that sort of hit and mix. And the last one was in the white. It looks like that one's hit that gravel, so it's going to be a little bit tougher and trickier to get a full beat and read on here. This is the alternate take I was sort of alluding to. You can see they've stacked themselves up around Solarium side. They're looking towards Trophy, potentially on a hop in onto the window. They're trying to get control from the back of where Secretly was before, and it's Rampy that's driving his way here across the top. They realized that the box force wasn't going to come together, and at this point, actually, they can see the Na'Vi players have actually moved themselves off. They've had a pickup that the push is coming from this side instead, and sort of forfeited the territory. They know they don't have as sturdy control there, so Secretly's pulled himself off towards, obviously, Library. He's offering some support here to saves.
I was going to say it's not just them, but Skies gets that very first kill. Doki gets picked up, and EOD gets used and will be provided to potentially push in even further. But at this moment in time, that means they now need to start rotating back just a little bit here. Sage is still looking to go for a potential jump out as he's prone. I mean, Fultz is still somewhat in range, but it is going to be too risky. They lost that top floor control. Houghton will be starting to open up very soon here above the rest of the site, and that is when the rest will be in trouble. Sage needs to be careful though. Claymore has been put down there. He's thinking about going for a potential jump out, but he really cannot do that.
Well, the diffuser's being planted on the far side behind the safety of the bomb chassis. There's breaks coming in above Nath. He's under huge amounts of pressure, and Bosco is able to find Blur to post-plant. And a 5 versus 1 almost. They just don't get the end scratch on that player, but Saves is able to find Houghton in the meantime. 30 seconds. They have vertical control over the diffuser. They had themselves well coordinated. The force on the smoke, but it's cut off before he can finish the maneuver, and Skies locks in the opener and the closer on SSG's first round.
There we have it. The Solarium take seemed to work out. No one really there from the side of Na'Vi, so freely given away. And that is the contrast to what we saw that first round. I mean, not only did SSG go for a different take from a different side, the players on the side of Na'Vi were also not really on that top floor, or at least not present where it mattered in the end. And that allowed them to freely take it. Start putting up that pressure to Doki. I mean, you might win some of those gunfights through the beams from below, but you're definitely not going to be winning all of them. And that gives that first round over towards Spacestation Gaming. They still look for more. They still want to lock this off in an even split. And that is definitely going to be some pressure upon them. As Na'Vi choosing to go for the bar here. As the wine cellar is still closed. Wouldn't be surprised if they go back there at the end.
Na'Vi, they've been proving that they can bleed, but they've already guaranteed themselves the even half, and they're going to see if they can keep pressure and put themselves into probably more than that, to be honest. Doki, as we pointed out, was very close to be able to get that jump out kill, and if that was a connection, it might have been a bit different. Obviously, Fultz wasn't a direct line between the firing line against their opponents last time. It was a great drive onto the other side. It was a great read of the hold. They adapted, they rotated, and then they put the diffuser down in and amongst an E1D, and you saw all the stuns that came through from Fultz against the smoke player. So they knew where they were, and they did just enough to ensure that they couldn't long on the smokes the same way they did on this push last time.
Alrighty then. One round in the pocket for SSG, and they look to find more. This time, no Maverick on the board, so the pantry will be a little bit safer to some extent, whereas it will be still openable by, of course, the Hibana that they carry along. However, it's going to be making some more noise. And that is going to be the trouble point here. If they make too much noise, no one will be playing in that pantry. At least be aware of the fact that someone will be out there, whereas the blowtorch is relatively silent. Grenades already being tossed in, however, they're afraid of a player still being out there around the area and the corner, but that's not the case. Library is completely free. One of the prisoners did get destroyed, however, with that grenade, so a little bit of utility was gained, but no kill yet. As Na'Vi waiting around the corner, they have one near the blue stairs, they have one right around the library door. If they step in a little bit too far, it's Blur that has to rotate out, but can still swing back in. Takes 90 damage from that grenade.
Well, the wall's about to be popped behind him if they don't quite get all of them, but the X-Kairos was shot by the synergy relationship that he has with Nath on the far side. Nath, he suffers a little bit himself. You sort of have to try and take one of these two players, but distract the other at the same time because of how they can read each other, how they can play against each other. The pickup now. Blur is going to be suffering a bout of pressure from the opposite side. It looks like they have a body stacked up on that little mezzanine window too, and, well, he's just out of there. He realizes he can't hold on too much longer. He's low health, and he's already wasted over a minute and a half at this point. They're able to start pushing their way in. Nath, he's going to pull his way back because he now knows he doesn't have that support player. He doesn't have that swing player. He needs to get out of there before he is entirely surrounded.
Now, no opening has been made yet on the pantry, so Secretly can still freely rotate around that area. Drones are starting to drop in, however, and that means that Sage's position for one has been spotted out. He's still trying to contest the hatch right there. Is in the meantime being pressured from above by the sledge that is starting to open up here and there. It's Rampy. That will just swing around the corner and pick him up. Instead goes for the double, as Nathan no clue that he was already that far down. It is a double entry here for Space Station, and that is exactly what they need, but they need to be careful as Blur is still up in that top floor. He's right behind that shield. He doesn't know and gets picked up. That's a triple, and now they push on. Space Station need to find two more people on the side of Na'Vi.
Oh god, imagine if Rampy wasn't using an LMG. That's the sort of question there, and Bit of a miss throw on a C4, and he's caught out, but he's the only one left at this point. The C4 might catch one. It doesn't. It's a bit short, and the shield pop-up is going to guarantee the flawless here for SSG. I mean, LMGs. He pre-fired swung, got the first and the second, and still had about 30 bullets left.
Even more, I think it was it the Thinker that went for the first swing? Yeah, it was.
It was all Thinker, all the way down. The shield pop-up on the reverse of Blur was Sophia there. It's like, so it takes the first fight, can take the second fight.
Now you still have a full magazine.
27 bullets. I mean, I think that's one of the moments, and that's that pre-fire game is you go in it because you can get rewarded. And obviously, you've got to have the game sense to make sure that you know when to move and manipulate. But that's why you're seeing them. That's why we're getting a lot of them.
They did drone saves out, so they knew exactly where it was. That first kill, that was always going to be free. The second one, I mean, Nave looked up a little bit too far, wanted to go for a very quick swing. He also knows that you cannot, when you're playing against an LMG, you cannot cut the corner very slowly to try and figure out what exact pixel he will appear on, because it'll just pre-fire you. You have to go for these quick swings. Either way, those two LMGs, they really worked out for the side of Spacestation Gaming, so they decided to just bring it back to one. I'm not sure, is the Vector 308 an LMG? It has like 51 rounds. It's not really an LMG, but it's definitely a gun with a lot of bullets in it.
Na'Vi, they've obviously had a pretty big takeaway here. SSG were able to utilize that long 1 minute 30 conversation and get their heads back on straight. So pin everything when I thought it was a tech timeout and put it onto that, which wasn't technically a tech timeout, it was a technical in the end. And then sort of apply it there. They knew that they needed to sort of set the pace. They know what they can do here, and they know that they can control the players. And since that point, it's not just that they've locked out Doki, but they've generally been able to isolate the play, the objective. They're not entirely looking at, let's try and find fights, because that's when they were losing. Instead, the way they focused over the past 2 rounds was, well, let's play it like we're playing our objectives. Let's just sort of run down the list. Let's go for the approach on the far side in the first. Great. And they went for the diffuser in the plant. The second time there, instead of trying to find the sneaky angles in the fights into pantry and supply, they went the default. They took the fight across the top and pushed their way down there.
Alrighty then. Round 6. A little bit of an opening up above. Of course, we are in that wine cellar, but I have to be very careful. Houghton is here to catch off a rotation, but he didn't hold the angle tight enough, and Blur will slip by without taking a single point of damage. But he now knows as well, someone is on the balcony, and someone is holding that door. Going to be called out. No one's going to be swinging that anymore. Talking about swinging, that's exactly what Rempe wants to do. Has the LMG and will receive some tracers back at him. Nothing will damage him yet, however, he will soon be swung yet once more. There is one close on the corner. He still has the LMG in hand, and all he needs now is the information on where Doki is exactly. With Folds providing some support, or at least getting into a position to do so. It is Doki that falls back together with Naif as they want to hold onto the dining area.
Doki's sort of eyeing up that fight from range, and a grenade is going to bounce its way around to that close corner, force them out. But look at all this. Hot and Cold is there to assist as well. All the bodies stacked up, the E1D at the same time. They went heavy on the push here across the west main take. Doki's trying to stick it out, and he sees the side of somebody. He's able to drift away and get a kill, traded out instantly by Rampy. They keep the body advantage into their favor. At this point, they've lost the sledge, so they've lost a big portion of their soft destruction above. Faults obviously still has those breach rounds. They still have some capabilities to smash their way down and open some of these angles, but in the meantime, with the hatch open, Con 6 taking care of them. Lucy, they're going to get themselves a little bit more of a clean approach here. They're probably going to see if they can get control maybe of the bottom side of blue and go for a swing in towards behind pillar, see if they can get the diffuser planted, and essentially there's the rotate coming off towards trench.
Yeah, they need to open up on the boiler wall now. That's exactly what Skies will be doing with the X-Cars. This provides a way in to eventually go for the execute. I'm hoping that those X-Cars have been placed right. It's a little bit too far. Yeah, okay. It is just right here to make sure that they could go for a plant later on. The first smoke canisters are already being used, and now they just need to sneak in a little bit of a safe position with 15 seconds left on the clock. The flashbang comes out first. Skies goes for the plant, and a kill comes through on the side of Bosco. Has to go off the plant, however, though. They didn't know quite exactly where Says was, but as they pick up that final kill, they still win the round in the end. And as a result, Spacestation Gaming will at least equalize the score here.
A huge turn of energy for SSG. After things got off to not a great start, they ended in a pretty great way. Pulled it back to an even attack defensive half. It's still roughly below average, but you look at those past 3 rounds, you look at the control they were able to exert, that is a confidence that at the beginning they just did not have. They really fine-tuned their approach here on Na'Vi's map, and now they're going to turn themselves to their defense. And the control of the space and the control of the players was something that was played very well with that Lion, and the change here is, well, it's a different playstyle. It's EU's lead in here. The Ying swapped out to the Iana. They have the gun 6 and they have the chance of some pace, and Thatcher still on the board as well means that some of these approaches, I mean, to be fair, it's something that hasn't really been thrown out too much by SSG.
No, it really hasn't been. And where it could have helped them maybe in the first round or potentially this, not even the second. I think really just the first is what could have helped them because they struggled a little bit with time there. The others were basically the diffuser getting dropped outside on bar, which is not really a site where you need a hard breacher for, so the Thatcher also loses a bit of value. And the third one, where it was Wine Cellar, they managed to get an opening done quickly. However, Doki just ran in and got a triple kill. So overall, didn't really seem to need the Thatcher. Na'Vi will be opting to pick that one straight away, and that is most likely to open up the dining wall that is being portrayed right now, closed off by Skies. So they have an opportunity to go quick and go for a quick plant. The only thing you then have to be worried about is about that top floor control. They might have verticalities ready, especially with Houghton still upstairs, could use that super shorty to open up these angles if the pressure becomes too big.
Nate, opening up with that LMG we talked about before, but Sophia's even bigger, still has 100 bullets in that belt. Doki has himself already quite an aggressive position here, but last time we talked about someone getting into position quickly, it didn't end up netting anything for SSG. Pulls himself back, sees if he can try and get some of the control on the split side and offer the rest of his team a bit of an entry road. You can see SSG's stacked themselves a little bit further away. Fultz is down, deep underneath with the sort of not an ignorance, an ignoring of this half of the map. They're happy to hand it over and keep themselves as a three-tiered defense all the way across the top, and it's down to Na'Vi now to see if they can try and crack their way, starting with the top.
Yeah, the side wall is actually being opened up already. That will provide them a clean entry towards that site. But it seems like Fultz is looking like he could go for a potential flank right here. He's hanging out in the snowmobile. Could be coming up from blue, could be coming up from the snowmobile stairs itself. But Doki is on a bit of a hunt. He seems to be aware of the fact that someone could be down there secretly now on that hunt as well. They had a drone. They spot him out as well. Wallbangs are attempted right there, and Doki's going for a quick intercept, trying to make sure that he's not going to be able to leave. But he misses the first opportunity to get the kill. It's Fultz on 1 HP now, and it's a 2-man hunt for the kill. Eventually gets him with a headshot, and no one takes any damage on the side of Na'Vi, which is good considering how that first shot was missed.
I mean, Fultz obviously doing the best he can there whilst being droned out. He wasted a lot of time, but Na'Vi, they were able to close it off. You see how quickly they moved. Here's the grenade. There's not a body. A little bit too long, and an uncharacteristic miss from the grenade play that we've seen from Na'Vi so far, but it buys Hot and Cold a bit of safety. That one doesn't get anybody either, and the canister pops itself over dining room table.
It's meant for the shield that was actually inside of that kitchen because it provides an extra angle if they want to go for a plant right behind the bomb chassis. Now it is just going to be a question for Na'Vi to try and waste as much utility as they possibly can. They need to get rid of those 2 smoke canisters ASAP. Those 2 impacts, you know, they're still on the board on the side of Bosco, but they're not going to be the main priority here. They want to go for a plant. That's what they set up for. And as Blur is inside the office here, he's stopping or trying to go for at least a denial for any vertical angles.
Blur is just seeing if he can get the lock off towards those 2 remaining players on the top. Na'Vi have hit a little bit of a brick wall and secretly hit more than that. Bullets dropped him inside the site. The diffuser's cold in and amongst the smoke. Nath, a huge take over the top as Doki goes down. Got a deep dive himself inside the smoke to see if he can try and get this stuck down. Skies, he's just caught out before he can see the leg. It's the angle above. Will it connect?
Oh, no.
Rampy just missed out by inches on locking it out, and it was split seconds on the side of Skies. Na'Vi somehow scramble a diffuser down in a 3 versus 2. They do not have vertical control. Bosco's going to see if he can drive himself in and amongst the site, and Rampy's looking to see if he can fish for anybody on the far side. There's a fireplace watch, so he can't go for a huge rotate, and it's otherwise just one either side of the site. Rampy's dropped. He's going to find the first fight, and it goes against him. Now it's just a lockout on Bosco, and Na'Vi take their first attack.
That is going to be so detrimental. They had the opportunity to stop the plan from happening, but it was just a millimeter too far to the left or anything like that. Just barely missing on to having that diffuser carrier killed. And as a result, Na'Vi, they retake that lead. And as we go over the replays yet once more, you see it right here, he's shooting right at him, but bullets just don't connect because of the metal bars. After that's a 2v3 hold, a post plant in favor of Na'Vi.
Na'Vi take their first attack, but only just. There was 2 moments, including that Jaeger, and you saw Skies just see the side of a body, and the cover swings out at the right time. If there was half a second difference there on that pickup kill on Skies, that would have very likely been him getting the kill on the planter, and the diffuser not going down. SSG know this, and they're still going to rotate. Bring themselves up to the top, keep their site rotation hot, and see if they can try and get that little extra 5 seconds.
That's what Na'Vi did as well. They continued rotating, even though they lost Dining, then Bar, and after that, Wine. Of course, they had a complete rotation right beforehand, so a little bit less stressful. So heading out into round number 8 right now. The second half of the first map is underway. The first round has been won by Na'Vi, who is looking to pick up at least the first map. There is no points this time anymore, though. It is a elimination bracket, no more groups. So you either need to win or you get knocked down towards the lower bracket to play against the teams who ended in the 4th seed, of course. Later on. That's tomorrow, not today. Which is technically later.
It is technically later. There's no 2 ways about that.
Oh.
A bit of a stretch underneath for now. Sky is currently the only body sitting on site. Fultz is off with these replaced angles and a reveal on the drone there. Dropped instantly. Fultz gave the game away that he was in that location, but to be honest, if he went for the swing anyway, regardless of the pings that came through, he likely would have been spotted, and there was no way to get into that engagement to take care of the drone and sort of say, I know you're there, you know I'm there, let's just wait and reconvene a little bit later. Looks like another drone that potentially just got caught there, but Nath, he's watching. He's hoping the player swings around. He's got himself into
right behind him
position. Oh, no! It was a technical 360, but I think a scream was with it. Nath finds two with the big LMG that just keeps going. And suddenly that quick positioning there of Na'Vi to get themselves underneath, and they've been able to lock off that big roam game, and you can see now those remaining SSG players, they're starting to filter their way back towards the site and offer some semblance of safety. Now they don't have that trade and body advantage.
No more trading. That is going in their way. If they continue going strong here, there's now players that try and dig deep right behind the utility. They still have some mirror windows, some shields, and well, also yokai drones that are being put in place where they can potentially stop a plant from happening. At least one of them is trying to guide and find some information below on that first floor, but that one is not going to be too important because the site is about to be hit. Holocaust takes a small amount of damage as he drops actually through, has the opportunity to go for a nitro play at the end, but decides to rotate back up to that top floor instead. Not quite sure what Skies is doing with the yokai drone. He's going on a complete tour around the map.
A long drive.
Long drive, you know, he thought it was time, and as an EMP pops, it's not going to get any of those ADSs, and Rampy will find one at least to bring it back just slightly, and suddenly the man difference is just 1.
It's just 50 seconds. They got the breach and they have a backline now. There's going to be an attempt of blur. He wanted to toy with the idea of a grenade there over to the backhand side, but he couldn't quite get the angle, so instead he goes for the width, just sees Mirror. Can't quite get the connection though, and slips his way back past. Na'Vi once again knocking on the door and not quite able to get in. The second attempt at a grenade on that close corner, and it takes Rampy. Took him out there and almost caught, but Mirror is able to lock it off. They sliver their way back in and protected from the swing round, finish it off, but saves with the cover, and Sky's now all that's left. Hops up on the echo drum, drops it off the pillar, and is just going to drive it onto position, but he can't quite get the connection. It's a long drive off the top of that lumber, and now he's found it, and once again, a post plant here for Na'Vi twice in a row, and they've made sure they can make it stick when it matters the most. Skies goes wide at first. Might give the game away, but you can see the upside down rappel on the top left. He knows that if he goes anywhere further out there, he's going to be caught. There's a reveal, there's a swing and a pre-fire onto the positioning. There's also the stretch body. It was pretty tough, too impossible. Na'Vi 5-3.
The double opening from Nave where he was just holding, looking at the connector. He's like, someone is going to come right through this. Here's a sprinting noise coming from Blue. So he goes for the 360, 180. It looked really weird, but he was able to pick up the kill in the end of the double as well to open it up. And you said after that, it's such a big advantage. You can just continue throwing bodies at the side of Space Station. You can afford to take that small risk to take something by force, and that's exactly what they did. Here again, Nate with the double kill, turned around at the very right moment in time, and then instantly went in towards blue. Picked up Fultz as well, not a single opportunity given. Rampy tried to fight back, but this grenade just beautifully tossed it as well, and well timed with the EMP.
Exactly, that was the beauty there. They hit that, so they hit that EMP just on the close wall, and literally within a split second afterwards, that grenade came sailing past, and you trust yourself in that position where he was on that half wall by the bathroom, that you'll hear when my discs burn, you'll hear ADS's burn, and then you can use that in and amongst your factor of how long can I stick around here. You can do that with the EMP as well, but the time between that EMP popping off and that grenade being loose...
that was nothing.
It was within a blink. It was so well put together. And SSG, they want to avoid themselves getting put onto map point here. They still need to be able to try and lock in 2 of their defenses. They've tried 2 of the most popular sites. And to be fair, there is still sites like Snowmo available. There is still Bar, which does have a preference for a lot of teams, depending on how they like to structure their hold. And see that obviously SSG, they want to see if they can just try and look this out. No more of that. No more of that only taking 1 map on a win. You're just playing a best of 3 now.
Yeah, you definitely have to. And we know Na'Vi, they were in that tiebreaker situation, you know, which fortunately for them made it through. But in the 3rd seed, and that meant that when the draw was happening, 2nd seeds were allowed to pick their opponent.
They were.
Out of the 3rd seeds.
How's that gone so far?
I think it didn't go too well so far, but I'm not quite sure.
NIP picked TSM.
Yeah. Didn't go too well.
Didn't go too well.
Nope.
I can't remember who picked who in the first game.
I'm going to check it now. But, you know, just to point it out to you all, Spacestation picked Na'Vi to go with. And so far, Na'Vi is seeming quite strong here.
It is Na'Vi's map.
It
is. Chalet is the opening map. I'm so fancy. Is the opening map here, and it's not a horrible one for us to see. That's the thing. Like this map selection, most question marks are on Bank, because Bank, as a choice, when they still had a handful of their other favorites up, you know, Club is where we have a decider here, and they're a fantastic club team. Na'Vi are a very good club team. I can see why they maybe didn't lean into that. You had the choice of Villa and Cafe. It might be because, as they sort of theorized on the desk, that rather than them thinking they have a great bank, they think that Na'Vi have a worse bank. And at this point, you just have to know you've got a better game than your opponents.
I just checked. It was FaZe who picked Oxygen.
Okay, well that one worked out.
But no, wait, it was the other way around, actually. I think it was Oxygen that picked FaZe. Let me double check now. Now I'm starting to doubt. Yeah, Oxygen was 2nd seed, so Oxygen picked FaZe.
Well,
so far,
so far, every team that has had the choice of picking their opponents has lost. I'm not entirely sure how the game on the other stream is going, but we're, you know, close to sitting here on that point. And to be fair, out of the games that happened between the 2 early ones, this is, I mean, a lot closer for sure than the TSM game.
Of course, for now it is, and so First Impact gets tossed down. He gives away the opportunity. No! He tosses an impact to Blur responds with his own Pokeball that has a bit of a delay on it, but gets the kill, and there's the opening yet once more on the side of Na'Vi. A good start here as they pick up Bosco.
Blur now, he's set up on these windows. They take care of a power position that a player is supposed to last a very long time into if they've got that stretch. And here with saves, trying to offer some of that split there and make sure they have some control over main and force some rotates. Nath, he's also opening up and pressure, and that's the thing about this map. Doki finds Hotton, drives himself in, just takes the fight. There's one more that's about to swing on him. Will he have awareness? It seemingly he does, but so does Rampy. Rampy just stops himself, overexerting, doesn't go directly for the trade in this moment in time. He knows that there's pressure coming in, there's explosions coming underneath Doki, and it works perfectly. The distraction of the players underneath, the combination there of Rampy and whoever it was that was loosing explosives below. It must have been Fultz, because he's the only one that can.
Yeah. And then Doki actually, fun fact, he's the one that isn't actually using the LMG. He uses the Spear 308, and well, not that it would have saved him in that matter. Either way, Na'Vi still have a man advantage. They came down from 2 back to 1, and as they do have a little bit of trophy control here with Blur, it's him trying to open up some ankle holes, try and see if he can find any of these Space Station players from below. And as the hatch gets opened up, as some verticality gets put up as well, it's a default or bulletproof camp that will actually give it away. Skies, however, will will be forced back. He can no longer play inside that kitchen now, and took a little bit of damage on the way out as well.
He has 3 smokes, and they've rotated themselves down to be a backline the similar way that we've seen it held before. And last time, the aggressive SSG was successful. The grenade goes over the top. Doesn't quite get the full explosion on anyone. Saves is watching the rotate, and secretly he's watching Skies. There it is, though, Rampy.
Oh, no way!
Get it out! And Saves is able to hold down. Faults is all that's left, finds 1. Looks for the second with a huge gun, and he's going to see if he can quite get the catch there, but it's above. Everywhere is dangerous, and at that point, it doesn't matter how big a gun is if there's more of them pointed at you. Map point, Na'Vi.
4v1 in the end there. Map point Na'Vi, indeed. Managing to get the plant down yet once more. 3 rounds in a row now they managed to plant, and where the first one might have been a little bit lucky after the verticality didn't work out. I just wanted to say again, I like how Bosco, he's like, oh, someone's under repel, I'm going to toss an impact nade. And then they respond with just a grenade themselves. It's like 2 can play that game.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I've got those too.
You walked right into my trap card. Either way, 3-6, Na'Vi on a map point here. It's only map number 1, but it is definitely going to be a great start for them if they do manage to pick it up. And Bar will be the destination we'll play at.
Okay, the thing about how this is sort of approaching, and obviously we're seeing them rotate to another site. Again, we're seeing them try Bar. As I said, it was one of the 2 that they haven't really tested as of yet. They just need to sort of break this momentum, and to be fair, the first half was 3 for Na'Vi, 3 for SSG. It's now been 3 for Na'Vi again, but it's a little bit tougher at this point. Obviously, it's a little bit trickier when you're on your defense, you're against your opponent's map pick, you're against a friend of a map, and trying to find some solidity. SSG every single time these past few rounds, they lose that entry battle quite early the past 2 times, but then they still sort of hold off. They reimagine themselves.
A little bit,
they occasionally try and put in, and I think that's that frustrating thing for them is they're close to stopping the diffuser going down, but they can't quite work out just how Na'Vi are getting that next little step.
That's it. Na'Vi keep on finding, when they find that entry, they find a double as well, and then, they fight back just a little bit. But the damage is already done in that case, and I think that's the true issue here. You lose 2 of those important players on that roam who need to waste time early on, and that means that Na'Vi have a 2-man advantage and extra time. That really doesn't seem to help the side of Spacestation too much right now. Either way, there is still plenty of time in this round. 2 minutes and 30. Spacestation, they need to get 3 rounds in a row right now if they want to find themselves in a position where they can fight for overtime. As grenades are being used, as Doki sneaking up on the Solarium stairs right now. Noises are being made, and he gets the first. He was occupied with a window that was currently being shot out. It was a distraction move, and Doki picks up a clean headshot.
Saves is watching the piano window again. It's this game of Chalet where you sort of cut off rotations and points and possibilities, and whether they think all the players have pulled themselves back or not, you can still see Na'Vi are just slowly creeping their way, but it's constantly. They're making sure they keep moving, keep applying pressure to the players in these positions. The next swing will come down to those stairs. They're going to see if they can try and take out that body, potentially burn it out from the corner. Doki has a grenade in pocket. They have that extra window swing here. They know they're up against a huge battle utility. You're going to have ADSs and probably discs there as well. You can just see it on the lumber beam at the top. So are they instead going to see if they can take this width here instead onto box and onto that pillars player?
Longer angle being created to put up some extra pressure onto the player on the back stairs. Rampy is going to be the one that needs to be pressured first. I'm quite sure that he will be the one receiving the bad end of some grenades and some flashbangs, and that's exactly what's happening. Forced out just slightly, but no real pressure coming back through, and that means that he has the opportunity to turn it back around. There is that mirror window, and his Fultz gets a grenade right on top of him. That means the staircase is now lost as well. It is Saves that comes in from the back, finds Rampy, and that's a double entry yet once more. A minute left on the clock. And well, right now they can start taking that top floor control, work their way down, use that verticality to truly make it a last tough round for Spacestation.
There goes Skies as well. They've only got Fultz and Bosco, a hell of a duo, but up against Na'Vi with all this vertical control, it becomes so awkward. 1 canister, 1 C4 between them. Fultz, he's gone off on a bit of a west main rotate. He's going to see if he can strike behind Nath, but Nath seems fully aware at this point. He's happy to sit and wait. Secretly finds the one-side player, and it's a flawless to lock out a 7-3 opening map here for Na'Vi.
wanted to go for yet another plant there on the side of Na'Vi, but he was not gifted that one. Saves that is in the end. And they pick up the map, and that is what's most important. You know, there's no way he's going to be like, wait a second to kill him. I want to get this plant down, 100% plant rate. But no, they win it. They're happy. Space Station, they quickly need to go back to their drawing board with Lycan to see if they can turn the tides, because Na'Vi right now is seeming like a much better team than they were in the group stages.
I think that's it with Na'Vi here, is, as he said, and you know, bringing it back to Fresh, where he said, you're going to have to look at Doki, you're going to have to look at Hotton. The fight there was Doki. He started off big, 7-0, sort of got slowed down when SSG started to get a bit of control, but there, that aggression, that lead-in, and that coordination from Na'Vi on Chalet was tough. And that's SSG now looking towards Bank for the second map.
It's definitely tough indeed, and Bank will be coming up very soon here. Space Station need to win that map, otherwise they're being knocked down towards that lower bracket, which is not really how you would like to start off if you come in as the second seed. And that is unfortunately going to be the reality. We'll find out after the break.
Welcome back to this Valentine's Showdown day, but it's not as full of love as it could otherwise be. SSG and Na'Vi went to blows on Chalet as the opener, and next is a wonderful trip to the bank to see if they can sort things out. SSG, it's their map pick, and obviously they got to see if they can try and bring some of this momentum back.
That's it, they're going to bring the momentum back because that last map did not go their way at all. Yes, the first 3 rounds were won by Na'Vi, they managed to bring it back and turn into a 3v3, but ever since, 4 rounds in a row for Na'Vi. And SSG not able to do anything on their defense at all. And if we then look at the stats, we had 4 entries on the side of SSG, we had 6 for Na'Vi. 3 plants that Na'Vi managed to actually pull off. Almost a 4th, but the last kill actually came through in that final round. Compared to the one from SSG, and 1 flawless round for either side. And that leaves us with, well, first of all, Doki on 12 kills.
I mean, he was the man of the moment and the madness. 7 kills over the opening couple of rounds without a death. He got shut down a little bit, but then on the attack, it turned over. And as well, you've got to look at how Na'Vi structured their approaches. The amount of times they're able to get a position in and just punish the rotations of SSG. The double kill of Nathan down underneath in Wine. The position saves was to punish the player as they rotated off of Pillar in that final round.
Yeah.
It was that coordination from Na'Vi on just ensuring that there was always a player watching. And SSG were obviously trying to set up the same, but in those opening rounds, they couldn't quite find a way to punish that movement, that mobility that was otherwise being enjoyed and exploited by Na'Vi. Here on Bank, obviously, it is the choice, and it is that moment where it's up to Na'Vi to see if they can step up to the plate, because it's not SSG's strongest map, but it is statistically stronger for them, or it could be, than it is for Na'Vi, who haven't had a great time on it.
Yeah, and Na'Vi are well aware of the fact, of course, that they would play this if they let it through. And that is what we're currently at Bank, or at least we'll be traveling to in just a couple of instances here. And this is where they have the opportunity, actually, spoiler alert on the screen, if you hadn't noticed yet, the other stream.
I didn't notice.
Oh, I did see. Do you want to know now?
Yeah, go on.
Elevate has won their first map.
Whoa, against Sonic.
Exactly. And they haven't lost to a single NA team yet, Elevate. So, so far, they seem to be the destroyers of North America. Either way, to continue the point, Na'Vi, of course, they had a lot of time to prepare for Bank, make it better, improve on it. And if we just looked at their Chalet, I thought they already looked a lot stronger compared to what they showed during the majority of the group stages, of course. That passed 2 days ago. And as we now start with Bank, the operator bans will, of course, come in first.
Let me see the split here.
Okay,
see how this breaks down. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Finca played well for them, but they don't need it. Obviously, we were talking about the LMG causing problems for them and trying to... how well it was used by SSG. Doki plays it, but plays it with a spear. Monty, go on.
Okay. Not going to see that shield at least coming through. There is always, of course, the small exchange, I'm going to call it, for the Ossa. It's actually an operator that does sometimes make their play a little bit more now, later in the tournament. Due to the fact, of course, that it's a new operator, it's not really found a place yet in the meta, but it is sort of a shield operator, whilst also having a fully automatic rifle. It's a bit, you know, a weird hybrid in between. And as that shield could be used for window play, what we normally see, I think it's more useful on Bank, for example, in that basement. You place that shield, your plan's right behind it. What can it do? Absolutely nothing.
It's a pretty interesting band selection there, actually.
It is.
You know, and it's not that any of these are always escaped from bans. Valk is a constant here anyway. She's always going to be off the board. Monty... 50-50. Like, it really depends on the team and what they're comfortable and uncomfortable against, and potentially the team that they're up against. But to add in the Finca and the Jaeger, it's a rare selection of 4 operators that shifts different parts of the meta in interesting ways. You're limiting different aspects of play, and usually you'll have bans that sort of hone in on a particular style of play, a particular style of defense or offense. This is sort of taking random spokes out of different aspects of 4 different game types.
I was going to say, it's not really often we see this combination.
Yeah.
The Finca I understood, because it's an extra LMG you take off the board. Doki prefers to play with the other gun as well, the Spear, but you could also go for the Yana. It's a very good alternative for it. The only thing you miss, of course, is that healing ability. Valkyrie, you said it, is basically default. The Jaeger will indicate more grenade play potentially to come out from Na'Vi, or wanting to rely on that. And then the Monty, well, they might have been afraid for potential plant strategies to come through, which I already highlighted before. You can use the Ossa for those as well in a certain way. Tellers is the first site, and that is a site we do not very often see, due to the fact that there is a lot of verticality that is just a bit difficult to play with as a defender once it does get opened up. And well, Na'Vi, they tried their best. They put up 2 castle barricades together with Surya laser gates as well to ensure themselves that these stay up for a bit longer and allow Doki to play in a safe manner up onto that top floor. Blur will also come to support, has those mirror windows with them as well, and that leaves basically only saves directly onto the site, whereas the rest has wandered off.
Heading their way up to the top of Square, and the Nook, the slow creep and crawl, being droned ahead here. Fault is going to see if they can get an early bout of punishment on the player that might be, well, nobody's in the side. It's secretly the Fine's hot and cold, and here Fault has to go big and doesn't quite get it out. Secretly goes bigger. Finds the second swing round there, the reveal of the player. And now it's just this sudden attempt at a quick swing through, but look what's removed. The grenades and the frags and the damage potential, and you've got the limitation of the Jackal as well. It's just such a big blow to the pocket utility here.
Sure, Rampy finds Doki, but not quite yet. That should have been a kill, and as he does get caught off by the pistol in the end, at least he will be able to survive, at least for now. A drone will be coming through. They'll try and figure out whether or not it will be safe, and Blur in the meantime already on the way to go for a pickup here. Needs to be careful that a grenade is not being tossed in. Rampy is carrying one. They need to make their way out as the grenade comes around the corner and picks up Doki. At least it wasn't both of them. That would have been problematic.
Well, it was an attempt at getting them picked back up. Obviously, Rampy suffered in the engagement as well. They utilized that grenade just to get solidity because it was blind firing through the soft. And you can go by audio, sure, but you never have the full clarity. If you're somehow unaware of this at this point, if you're new to CG Sports, they cannot see the points the same way that you usually can back at home. They do not have those pop-ups. They have to go by well-practiced audio cues.
They definitely do, or, you know, try and see the blood when you go for that re-swing. You now know someone is linked as well. Saves is going to get down from above, and this is what I was talking about. It's such a difficult side when the verticality is starting to come through. There's not really anything that you can rely on the side of the defending team. And as they now lost saves due to that verticality, and Doki earlier on, of course, after he swung quite aggressively. It's a drone that doesn't quite push through, which allows for a potential fight to come in later. Houghton, however, is watching on some of these drones. It's going to be a question of whether or not he will see a potential flank to come through, as long angles are currently being watched, with Bosco taking a small amount of damage, but he lands the kill. He finds Nave, and he's going to turn back this round around.
A huge retake there, but secretly is able to keep his trend on from before. But look at the timer. They got to see if they can get it stuck right now. Blur's on a swing, whether he heard that or not. They're dropping down. They're going for the cover. It's inside the smoke. You've just got to pre-fire the wrong angle. Sees them at the worst possible second. A bit of width, and Skies is able to get the punishment there. Blur was so close to locking it down. Just got the call of the movement a split second too late. A huge retake here from SSG, and you can see the rotation onto them spiral stairs. A bit of a scrappy firefight, can't quite get the true lock in on the close player, and they're just burning time. But SSG, they pull back a rough start into an just about landing on the tarmac.
Let's get it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the smoke was there to cover. It did its job. Not really that an attempt was made to try and see whether or not the plant was going down through the little angle that was made before, but I think this is the round-changing moment. Rampy being able to pick up saves from a vertical angle that just got created. Saves not able to exit quick enough. And then suddenly it's back in a 3-on-3 situation, and suddenly Spacestation are able to turn it around and put themselves in the driver's seat. 1-0 up with a plant, even though they had that double entry against them, is something they'll be more than happy with. And now the open area will be called. It's somewhat similar to Tellers. However, the verticality is not as big of a deal.
Yeah. That's it. You have a little bit more safety here. You have a little bit more that you can sort of hide behind, and we saw the verticality was the big punishment there onto Saves, who stuck it out. I didn't quite follow where the two C4s went from the pockets of Na'Vi, if they were pre-placed somewhere else or if they were just missed, because obviously that is your battle back usually against those sort of players and positionings, especially if you're in the position that Saves was, where he was sticking it so late. If there was a C4 in the end of the pocket there of Blur as well, that would have been the round for them as well. It is little bits of utility where if you miss it, you miss it more when it could have been a huge factor. But it's also the least seen side. Chances are it was a bit of a loose pull to see if they can try and throw off the approach in the game there.
That's what I thought as well, and they went aggressive from the start. They managed to get that double entry, you know, so their goal here is to, let's get a side that we will probably not play more than we do at the start, get a win on it, so we have that extra site in our rotation later on, which could be working out. And it was going to work out until, of course, Saves got picked up. That is the moment where it stopped being the favored for Na'Vi. Now, there is already a bit of pressure up on that top. Houghton is repelled up on the balcony, has opened up a long line of sight as well from the stock area all the way through to the hallway. Hoping to see and find if someone will rotate out. It's, of course, not really going to be the case, as I say, and secretly is quite close. So he could be deciding to go for a bit of a cheeky swing as soon as he hears a drop in.
Well, the drones, they're making their way down. He knows that he's got to be cautious of the top of the white window, and it looked like a player was rotating there as well, so he got out at the right time. He's just trying to find a pocket of space to be clear, and there it is, the faults, the slow creep to see if they could be rewarded, but at that point the player has long since gone, and those drones that were whirring around above and Rampy's positioning means that they're more than aware. You've got to keep this at a bit of an arm's length because of the aforementioned C4s. They're waiting to see if they can get a catch below. Blur's obviously inside Archives. He's going for some of the aggression that might be able to lead into something. He's that bit of a stretch and a swing. Faults popping towards that pre-fire and the removal of the cap.
Yeah, Doki went for a punch hole there. Shot instantly came through, so he knew that it was being watched at that given time. Also, of course, he was right behind the reinforced wall, so not really in any danger as Rampy continues to open up, but he misses every opportunity to find any of the players out there in the Tildes area. Doesn't stop him, though, from continuing to swing that hammer to make sure that the Archives is under their control. Because that is the importance of it. This is Stellar's Archives. That is completely vertically available to get. But that was the issue the last time around as well. And as Fultz will get the entry kill now, it's secretly that drops, and it's Na'Vi that's a man down. And with 55 seconds on the clock, there's still plenty of time for SSG to open up onto the actual site.
That's it. You look at all the clear that they've done now, and they can start trying to apply the pressure. They hunted down Secretly, who'd gone on the big rotation all the way underneath, and now they've limited all of that positioning. They've got themselves locked in. They can start trying to apply that towards the site itself. Those stuns are going to be popped over the top to make sure that nobody can go for the impact here. It's still caught. That's one exothermic down. There's still obviously one more in pocket, and Fultz is going to see if they can get a little bit closer. Honestly, trying to bait it there with some destruction, with that castle needing to be opened too. It's a bit of width, that'll get both. There's the second impact, there's the second breach. That castle stays standing, but Sophia gets its width and Blur gets Fultz. In the meantime, a huge fight behind the bomb chassis. Houghton suffers massively. They're still stuck in, and Doki's able to just keep surviving. Sprays it, and it's locked out on the beat as Nath is able to just stop the width of the swing. A grenade shouldered, and Saves and Houghton find one apiece, but Houghton's on the floor. It's just Skies left. He's going to see if he can stick it. He doesn't even get that.
Hidden drone there that now has been shown in between the counter and the fridge, but indeed, the timer ran out in the end there, and as they struggled to get the wall open up due to the impact still being deployed, they had to go through the doorways, and that is just a tunnel, which Na'Vi managed to shut down quite perfectly. And this leaves us in this weird situation where Na'Vi managed to get a double entry in that last round and weren't able to convert the round. This time it's SSG that cannot convert them themselves. So maybe you want to give the opening kill to the opening team, to the opposing team, you know?
I don't.
I don't think it works that way. No, of course
I do not
not.
recommend that as a play. Hey, Amaru, you're not seen too often, but you have the option to be seen quite quickly here. If you can try and solidify that close down on the roam on this site, you know, you're not really going to be utilizing it for too many hatches per se, but you look at those huge sway the windows across the top. You look at the ability to get in, get past, and get hurting people quicker. And suddenly you might be able to actually strike some distance here. Saves, talking of, has the distant fire to go alongside the smoke. They're going to hope that, well, they've got themselves stacked up for the chance at a default plant. You can sort of keep yourselves locked in, hand over, or not hand over A, but try and hold off for as long as possible, and then dip those in. A well-practiced bounce, and those fire canisters will land exactly where you need them to.
This is what a lot of the pros were afraid of, the combination of the smoke and the Tachanka. Now, both of them will be out here. There's a very long lineup that you can make all the way from the back of the B site. You bounce it off of the emergency exit, and then you manage to get the default plant under fire. And as you said, Hot and Cold will be trying to enter very quickly with the Amaru. Surely the noise has been made. Doki aware. He's playing with that smoke up on that top floor. Blur is coming in for support, and we'll find that entry kills. The Amaru is unable to deal too much damage really onto the side of Na'Vi. And as they start falling back now, both of them, because they have that man advantage, they'll play it on the back of time now. Now they'll have to drone the complete top floor because they're afraid there is a player or two out there, and that will waste them a lot of time. And then when they do start hitting the side for a default plant, probably it's going to be yokais, it is going to be shumikas, and it's going to be smoke canisters all popping off. So they're basically forcing Space Station now to go for the gunfights on the actual site.
Well, that's a bit of an early blow here, but, I mean, you quoted entry trade statistics, so I'm still hopeful for SSG and see if that off-trend meta of losing the entry and then locking in the rest of the round comes together. Rampy, he's cracking his way across the top here. As I said, you kind of want to have a bit of pace in that clear, but now it's just a standard one without the gun of Hot and Cold to offer it. They're going to see if they can lock out this corner of blue. As I said, with the stretch utility that they had here from Na'Vi, it seemed like they want to hope for that default push, waste time and try and lock themselves up. But obviously here, with the recent change in hatches, Vault has become, for some teams, a lot more viable as a method of approach. And those canisters, it's not that they're then impossible to use. You'd usually utilize them towards anybody who drops on elevator shafts, which is generally needed if you go for that side push.
Yeah.
It just isn't as easy to control.
Big rotation coming out on the Na'Vi players as soon as the Mavericks started to open up onto the actual site hatch. Decided that it's time to fall back, because as soon as that is opened up, there's no real safe way back towards the side anymore, so it's better to stick out here at the inner parts of it rather than the outer ones. And as Bosco gets a drone inside, and the next thermic will open up on the next one, it's Skies that will rotate around and potentially will be heading down the server stairs. They need to open up that side wall so they can back in and sneak in that potential plant. Rampy already there, you see one of the Shimikas already popped, and there's 50 seconds left on the clock. They have the utility to continue putting everything on fire for the rest of the round, I imagine. Smoke canisters as well. It's completely being doubled up, or it's a grenade that swings around the corner, and Phil's unable to pick up the kill as a result, as he takes a lot of damage from a shotgun and saves, goes twice.
Well, Bosco, in the meantime, utilizes the second grenade, and they're secretly still locking the door of green. Rampy's going to see if he can get that width, but the fire just singes Sledge's eyebrows. Another launcher and another misconnected drone or drop of a grenade there as the drop of the player comes in and amongst the smoke. There's calls, there's a little bit of confusion, but there's an echo drone that hits the roof and hits the planter. The C4, in fact, is the connection, and Blur locks it off on the far side. Na'Vi, I said they stacked themselves up with all the utility to stop exactly that push, and well, we saw every single piece utilized, not even just the fire and the smoke, but the C4 and the echo drone. They really went, no, not here.
I was going to say, like, everything you can imagine. Normally, like, okay, guys, we need a C4 or maybe like, two. We need something to stop it with. And Na'Vi was like,
I've got everything.
We got everything you can imagine.
We overpacked. The answer's no.
I mean, you know, if it works, it works, I guess. You know, it's not really like they needed anything else. And I think that is truly to benefit or truly to credit due to the opening kill that they made on that Amaru up on that top floor. A lot of time was being wasted to try and figure out if they were still up there. Then they need to open up these hatches, and as they didn't want to go for the vault drop, which of course would also be easily countered, they just went for the default one and got completely roasted by the flames and the explosives and the Yokai Sonic Burst and everything you can imagine, as we mentioned before. Na'Vi, they were ready for every single scenario. If they would have lost an operator, it wouldn't have mattered. They had 4 more other opportunities to stop you. They're going back to tellers.
I mean, maybe they sort of have a little bit of faith here. Maybe they're just uncomfortable with CEO, because to be fair, it's always the growth of attacker-favored Siege. Is when Siege is in a balance at the minute where attackers are generally performing better, you're more likely to see defensive adaptations, because you at that point have to try and break the mold. You have to try and break the metal. And sure, you can get genius with your holds, try and develop some clever plays and pocket strats, and you're always going to have to pull 3 of the 4 sites based on how the game is structured. But you're more likely nowadays, especially as time goes on, to see more of a stretch of offsites.
Yeah, that's for sure, because you can say it for CCTV, right? Everybody knows how to attack that site, and that means that teams need to innovate. That's why we see bar and stage coming out every now and then. Oh, that is painful. They actually just walked by. The Surya laser gate got deactivated, and as a result, they were able to put them on. However, Doki rotated around, shot them off. But I was just going to say, that could have cost them quite a bit here. A lot of the actual Axcaris are being used, and it's going to be the punch hole now to come through and a grenade to follow up. But Doki unable to pick up the kill.
Well, he's pulled himself back to this point without losing his life, as he was so close to doing it last time. Now it's seeing, obviously, if SSG can get that little bit extra, get that little bit of a lockdown here on this approach. Now they're holding firm. And you can see a huge rotate coming around to the front side of the lobby. They're going to see if they can pinch out Doki, who's still wasting a lot of time. Faults around on the backside, revealed by a Banshee. You can see the player on the top of white.
Sure to come through. The first kill is there. Doki finds one with the MK14. The DMR is seeing more and more play here at the 6th Invitational compared to the Roni. However, Fools will find the response. And as Doki is still up on that top floor, he's going to be a menace to deal with. But he's afraid of the fact that he might be pushed from the lobby, or there could be a repel in. No, Houghton from the Win the Repel is going to be able to find Doki and turns back the favor towards SSG.
Nath. He's now going to see if he can offer some stretch and support round on the opposite side. Obviously, with the trade-out that's come from Rampy, he might see if he can bite an early kill here, but Faults is going to have that read very quickly. Pops the Prisma and actually slowly sort of pulls himself back into that elevator. They're going to get control above. This was a big cost before, and this was where the conversation happened of how close they were to being able to stop the plant. They tucked themselves in on that hard wall. They sort of seemed like they could line in and get this connection. Bosco has the full read on this player. He's swinging wide and seeing if he can get an angle. It's a flash that's going to come through. He's not going to see anything, and it's going to be pretty brutal as he's dropped in the corner of the room. A double.
28 seconds on the clock. Space Station, they need to start pushing towards the side. It's blurred. They try to go for a flank up above, but Houghton will be able to cancel him out. It's only up to saves now. 16 seconds and a smoke grenade deployed again. A plant is attempted and he tries to go for the wallbang. However, it is not the same position this time around. They planted it in a different corner, and that leaves him in a 1v4 retake opportunity here, which is not really an opportunity at all. Every single member in Space Station is in different areas of the map, and as he finds the first, he still needs to find 3 more, and has 7 seconds left to go for the defuse. So there's definitely a lot at stake here, or a lot that he still needs to deal with. And as he runs around the corner, is the second player right behind it. And Bosco will eventually pick up that kill. Space Station, that will find a round back, and we are 2-on-2.
Both on tellers. 2 for 2, both on tellers. Now they got to see if they can try and do the stretch on a different site. And obviously Staff was, you know, it was a quicker approach, but then it slowed down. They had about 1:10 to actually go for the site take itself. They got stuck on the big quad wall.
Yeah.
Getting that stuff impacted. Obviously the castle on the side as well. And at that point, they just needed to hold in. They just needed to sort of lock themselves down and keep things under a bit of calm, cool coordination.
Alrighty then, 2-on-2, Na'Vi, they have that one map up. It was a 3-7. It was the first half where SSG was able to pick up rounds, and as soon as they went over to the defense themselves, they were unable to find any more. So, it is up to Na'Vi now to try and pick up at least 3, let's just say 4 rounds to be a little bit more safe into this game. They want to knock down Space Station Gaming towards that lower bracket. That is what they want to achieve. They do not want to go down there themselves.
Na'Vi, they still obviously have some of that movement and momentum. They opted to start on their defense. They feel more confident with it locked in here. And SSG, they sort of had these hit and miss moments on their approaches, on their attack. They have such clear, concise understanding, and Na'Vi haven't been able to have as much loose freedom on this map that they did on Chalet. It's 2 different play spaces, and usually it seems like SSG are pulling into the fight. There's no surprise Doki triple kills up on the backside of the stairs. It's just some of these misconnected 1v1s that are otherwise coming together when they actually go for the push. So the pace onto the site here is where my curiosity is, or at least the utility burn on it.
Now, There is still going to be the Electro Claw in pocket for Nath, an extra one, that is. He's roaming around that top floor. He's looking to go aggressive here inside. So window does get opened up. He punched it at the very same time. It might be a way out for him where they don't realize he's actually in there. And the drones, they come in to confirm that indeed the stock is clear. Doki is long gone. However, he has been droned in now. He needs to be very careful as it gets picked up. Rampy will be able to find that kill. There's a second wall man that gets spotted out by the drone to come through, but Rampy doesn't want to take that gunfight yet. They have that one-man advantage. That's enough for now.
Well, that was it. A very quick lead, and we talked about it before. Now they're getting themselves stock hatch open. They're going for a bit of a stretch here. They've opted with slight difference in terms of utility. They've got 3 hard destruction. They are making sure that this gets opened, whether it's the first, the second, or the third body that needs to do it. That quad wall will fall. And that is the MO that they are pushing themselves here. Similar hold with Nath just there on the top of blue, waiting for the potential of a rotate, but Hot and Cold is watching it. He knows as soon as a player is shoved up here, he's going to be able to get the catch. He's got nothing else to do right now, nowhere else to be, as the rest of the SSG boys are clearing the spaces for him.
For sure, indeed, and a bit of damage came through on the side of Blur. It's a grenade to fall right around the corner now as well. Blur, however, finds him with a C4 instead, and that brings it back to an equal scoreline. 70 seconds on the clock. There is still men down onto the blue stairs. It's Nath with a nitro cell ready to toss it up, and as he just hears this happen, it just flies way too far, and is not going to be able to pick up anything. He's forced to fall back, and he's forced to, well, find himself a safe way back towards that side. Of course, he doesn't have a nitro to toss back out, but he can actually play that hatch. He can actually wait for someone to push through the little side office and into the door and lock that out.
Well, the impact trick doesn't quite get the... locks off the first, doesn't quite get the second there. They're going to have to be forced to be a little bit further away. And now, SSG, how are you going to try and get the drive through? The quad wall was just slow down before. As I said, you brought more pocket utility. They're still cautious of the player underneath. Skies is now in the mantle of watching for it, but 30 seconds, and they still have work to be done. They've forced a funnel of space and forced out another kill. Deep down, they had the pings. They knew exactly where that player was, and Blur is still battling back. Nath, he's going for the swing up the stairs, and he's able to win it out against Bosco. Coming up his way up main stairs now. Secretly is inside the site. The pings coming through pretty continually aggressive, but it's Blur round on the corner. One SSG player left on the far side of the chassis. Nath locks it in. Na'Vi, 3.
Again, the timing becoming an issue right there. They needed to start pushing through the open area site, and that is where these red pings were coming through. Yes, they had the advantages. Yes, they were able to at least fight back, but in the end, Na'Vi, just a little bit too much left on that board. Just too many players still out there to try and wallbang, try and fight, as they slowly had to push themselves through. And they find themselves with an extra round on the board right now with the opportunity to lock into a 4th. And again, they lost that opening kill, but they managed to bring back the round. And that is eventually what counts. And as there it is again, the Tachunk is coming out. We also still have that smoke and the yokai out there. There's going to be an extra heart breacher being brought in though. 3 of them in total now, instead of the Jackal, of course, because roaming is normally not something that happens out here. But if you remember the last round they did this, there were actually 2 players up in that top 4.
There was 2 players, there was the full stretch, there was an attempt at a fight there, and to be fair, you could see that instantly, as soon as the call came round, there was pre-firing towards the banana side, there was pre-firing towards where Doki was. Doki ended up having Blur on the shoulder cover, whether he was going to stay up there from the meantime or was just, well, I'm in the right place, I'm in this part of town, I'll give you a little bit of support here. It came through for them, obviously. They were able to get that lock in. Here, they have the huge openings, as they did before, utilizing that gun for all of its destructive capabilities and getting themselves the rotates. Just going to add a little bit more cleanliness towards that. They'll set themselves up with a full stretch as well, that back line of shields and popped utility at this point, and how are SSG going to try and find a smoother drive?
All right, Doki again on that top floor. This time not as aggressive as he was before. He's just playing around those main stairs, a quick way out is what he bought himself with that. Needs to make sure that if he is being droned in aggressively, that he doesn't quite lose his life as a result. But I believe that Bosco already, I don't know, is Bosco inside? I think he might be actually. Yes, he is. And he might be catching up the rotation right here yet again. Doki is being picked up as they do already have the open area under control, and now they just need to work their way down to the site. 40 seconds and they have that man advantage now. That is the big difference maker.
This map, they have just been trying to shut down Doki. They realized how much of a powerhouse he was previously, and they don't want to fall for that game again. That's twice in a row. We've got a very vivid showing of it. They go with the hot drones in, they hunt him down specifically and ensure they've got him off the board before they then go towards focusing on the site itself. Here, the pressure on the hatch. They're going to try and get open the straight lead in towards the site itself. It's a slow burn, but they're prepping themselves up for the same take they had before. Nath just pulling the Echo drone to a slightly close position there onto gold so it doesn't get caught out by anyone going for a bit of a swing or any of the explosives that might be hitting close to the roof itself. And here's the width that we talked about earlier. You have Volt, you have that pressure that you can try and apply to the other side of the elevator onto gold.
Drones are being sent in, more rotates are being made by Rempy as well, just to make sure that they have all the time in the world to rotate around when they feel the need to. Skies is using an extra thermic to open up the hatch into the surface itself. It shows them that they want to hold it from there on. That is an opening you make if you want to go for that default plant, if you want to be able to hold it from the bottom of square. And as Volt picks up secretly, that is going to be a second entry here in favor of Spacestation Gaming. It feels like the hatch on the vault and the elevator might be able to be dropped right now, but it seems like they still want to go for that default plant spot. The diffuser is down there, Rempy is there for the cover, Houghton is looking to go for a drop in, however, and that might be the difference maker here, because as soon as the utility starts popping, they need to hunt down the Tachanka, they need to hunt down Nath on that Echo, and as there it comes, the fire is coming through, you'll take a lot of damage and be forced back.
Blur's forced back as well, but look at the drop, the fight, and it's all hot and cold right now. Locks it in from the far side. They've gone right for the cut in the middle. Everything is being burnt to that back line. The Echo drone is going to be the quick pop in. Looks the wrong way, hits the roof. Does it hit the diffuser? No! It's on the close right corner, and the post plant is in. Nath is going to see if he can fight his way just around the corner. They have that connecting corridor, and that's the big loss. A great first take here, but with saves going down in the meantime, it's going to have to be a bit of a pickup. You can see the rotation. They have the hatch. They have themselves in server. They have themselves locked in on the rotate on the green stairs. The pre-fire's over the top. Volt gets an easy pickup. And at this point now, in a 4 versus 1, with that player pulling away, there's really nothing that is being offered here to saves. An even half for SSG and Na'Vi at this point, and Na'Vi will find themselves on the attack in the same position that they were before.
Yep, we're just continuing that on. This time around, it wasn't a clear 3-on-3 cut that we had, of course, before on the previous map, Chalet. This one was a little bit more back and forth, but we have to say, good usage here on actually hunting down Doki, realizing that the open area is currently not being contested. You can take it, you can enter there and shut down those main stairs, which were supposed to be his safe way back down. You pick up the smoke, you pick up a bunch of extra utility, you start opening up all these hatches, and as soon as they start popping down these Shimikas, these Echo drones, these C4s, you know that they're currently not working with their guns. That is the opportunity to try and hunt them down, and that's what Spacestation Gaming did successfully here, and that led them to a round. Now to be pushed over to the defense themselves, though. Lockers is also the first site they'll go to, actually compared to the Tellers that Na'Vi wanted to go for, which they lost twice. It's going to be interesting to see what Spacestation Gaming will choose for their 3 sites.
Now SSG, they have themselves stretched and ready, and they're going to see if they can try and get more here on their defense than obviously that happened on Chalet, where it was 100% of an attack win rate. Granted, very different map. Granted, not their map choice, but it's always a consideration you have to have. You want to try and lead in on a better foot and force here on this, the turn of the half. They have themselves set up around open with a bit of a stretch, and some of the hatches, I mean, they're not locked in yet, so they might try and go with a little bit of a taller hold and potentially give themselves some chance of a rotation. That one is open, so you assume the little middle box one will get opened too.
He's left soft for now.
Oh, no.
No, they're going to reinforce it off, indeed. Because this is a more important hatch, right? This is what you use to drop. This is what you use to go for a plant and cover it directly with. The other one is you can hold it up from longer angles. You can watch them drop through if they want to go for it. So to some extent, not as important as the little side office is. And it provides a way out for those that are roaming up here in the middle floor. A quick way out. One that isn't the main stairs and you get picked up by a Bosco that suddenly found himself deep in the site.
Well, there's some pressure coming in directly above the aforementioned hatch. Blur is going to see if he can start knocking things through. There's always the danger of the C4s. Bosco and Fultz and Hot and Gold all have one, and all have the capabilities to try and put pressure above those players above there. Happy to sit and wait for now. Bosco taken on a huge firefight there against Secretly, who has been able to find an entry statistic and find himself continuing throughout this map itself. The 0 is on the board. We've talked about how good he can be on bank and what he can offer. Nathan, this pockets as well. It's just that intel clarity. You look towards lobby, you look towards slightly unexpected places to throw those cameras down, and suddenly you have just a huge read.
Rampy's trying to fight for his life here. He's backed up in a corner. Grenades are coming around as well. He has a mirror window to play with, but as the drops comes through, it's a kill for Doke. He needs to be careful though, and Nitro was being pulled from below. There you have it. Hot and Cold will be able to find him and at least return the favor and put SSG just on a singular man down. The big issue they have right now though on the side of Na'Vi is the fact that this hatch is electrified. There is no way that they're going to be able to drop through that one, so they will have to go for a different kind of take or find a way to get rid of it. Now a grenade from below, that would be a perfect way to do it, so Blur would potentially have to come over to try and find a way to bounce it off properly. Whereas Na'Vi could also just decide to hit the servers directly, open up with the sledgehammer and go for a plant instead.
Sledge is here as well to start knocking in some of these rotations, give them a little bit more movement capabilities. You can see a huge pick up sticks and down over towards the server side. Saves. It's going to be the next drive here with Blur instantly screaming his way down the stairs itself. They've done a lot of this prior setup. They've got these walls smashed in. This is the grenade you talked about to get that claw. They've got the ping and don't quite have the true angle on it yet, but there it is, and there goes the hard breach gadget. 30 seconds. Finally, the hatch is open and Secretly with a reverse plant, but they have utility to throw through and bounce. Baited the C4 and it misses. Now 20 seconds, and there's not really anything else in the pockets apart from obviously these smoke canisters of skies that are going to have to be pinpoint perfect at this point. Though with 2 more, he's free to do whatever he wants. Secretly, he's going to see if he can smash it. It's the second one thrown. At that point, with 10 seconds, you've got to just choose a new direction, a new place to plant. You're not just going to have to guarantee to catch the last one. A huge risk. The mirror window is causing so many issues. That next one connects. It's Houghton with a huge kill on the take. A swing round with a width, but Blur has it covered, and it's a post-plant situation. Houghton suddenly all alone. No! Na'Vi hold out yet again. Play the game they played on Chalet, which is, well, we've got a handful of seconds and a pocket full of diffuser. We can still make this work.
They definitely could still make it work. I was afraid there for a second when they backed up for the second time and the smoke canister popped. I'm like, they have to run now. There's 7 seconds left on the clock. There's no way that you are sitting there waiting for that to run out for a third one to land. So that's exactly what they did. They ran through as soon as the damage started to dissipate a little bit, just to make sure that they wouldn't be taking as much damage as otherwise, because you never know. You might need every single hit point you have at the late moments in the round. Open area is going to be the next site. And, you know, considering how quickly they just managed to take control of the players out there, even with the utility placed, think of the mirror windows, think of the castle barricades. Na'Vi have already had a little bit of a taste of attacking it here. The big difference, however, is that there's going to be more players around and probably more utility placed as well, which might make it a little bit more difficult. But if Spacestation goes with the same gunfights against these assault rifles on that long range, then that might be problematic. So they got to make sure that they're playing a little bit more internally out there to say. Because, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible, right? You need a headshot to kill. However, you're playing up against assault rifles with zoom scopes in that case. You need to be damn sure of your shot if you wanna outgun them.
SSG to a little bit of a false start, but this game so far has been actually pretty back and forth between the two teams. They keep making sure that they can keep pace with the opponents, rather than in the previous Chalet where it was sort of big blocks of 3 and then an eventual 4 to lock it in. This has really been blow for blow across the two teams, and a lot more pressure has been played, obviously, to the objectives from the side of SSG. This time round, Na'Vi, as I said, they're up to their old tricks from Chalet of getting in, getting that diffuser down, and making sure they can have that very important connection. Will SSG be able to wake up to that play? The pressure, the pocket utility was once again so close to stopping it.
All right, repel down from Blur. It's
going to be putting up some pressure up onto that top floor, waiting and trying to figure out if there's an opening out there, but instead, we'll just drop completely. There's, of course, going to be Skies on that pulse. He has that cardiac sensor. He will know if someone is out there trying to find a way in, and you know, pre-placed C4 is easily set up and easily detonated into an easy kill. Blur is starting to open up. That is at least giving them some opportunity to fight back, but they need to be very careful because these C4s are currently being guided as pre-placed. Skies will tell them when Blur is going to be walking over because it's a default angle they would like to open up, and they do manage to pick up a kill here. That suddenly gives them a lot more freedom on the side of SSG.
Doki is smoked out a little, tried to go with the grenade swing there, but it's just caught out, and it's an early use of the canister, but it's a very important one. Hotton, in the meantime, gets caught out. Blur's able to get that opener, get that entry with all of the utility being popped, although Doki's been out of grenades now at this point. They're also forcing them to be out of smokes. It's a very early usage. There's still a C4, obviously, and there's still some stretch of burn utility. I think Blur might have his grenades. Yep, there's 2 in the top count, and there's 2 there. So they have the chance to still put pressure on defaults, and that's why he's just going to pull himself out of there. And Skies is potentially a big part here with that C4 and that camera. There's an idea. There's a vague chance here. Well, there's more than an idea. The pings come through. As I said, Skies just has the end limit on that stretch. Rampy is there to offer that stretch himself. They're playing with the idea, but no. Blood just pulls away before the unfortunate inevitable was about to become, well, inevitable.
Rampy still trying to rotate around right here, and Doki in a position now where he can cut off the rotation if he feels like it. However, Rampy now making it happen, saves above the hatch in the meantime as well as Blur continues to open up. It is only 35 seconds left. They need to start pushing at some point in time. Skies gets picked up. I'm not quite okay from Blur's side. I was looking at the other screen again. My excuses. Grenades are being tossed in, and as Rampy takes a gunfight, he's forced to fall back. Certainly, they will drop those hatches. Doki in the meantime is trying to get right behind him as well, so we'll have to deal with 2 angles in just a second from now.
That's it, the pressure's onto the hatch itself. Saves, finds 1 more, and handful of seconds. 2 players of SSG to see if they can lock it in. Doki with slow creep and crawl. It's a hot drop, and it's a flawless for Na'Vi. They have been able to, for the first time this map, put a distance between their round and their opponents.
Actually, wanted to say as well that Hotton died because of the fact it was being guided by the pulse. The pulse said, okay, detonate it now, but it created an angle. Whilst he did a lot of damage, you have to say, onto the Na'Vi player, but it created an angle which he was being able to be picked up from. So the C4 he used to try and get the kill was just not at the right place to be able to pick up the kill, and instead lost him his life. So, well played by him there. Blur able to open up the round count for Na'Vi. And a tactical timeout is being called.
It sounds like there's a lot of cheering going on from the other game.
I have just asked.
I don't know if that's... So we're just going to get clarity on what's happened there, and we'll fill you in a second. Okay, if you don't want to hear what's going on the other stream, cover your ears. Elevate is 6-3 up.
Yes, there we have it.
On the second map against the Sonics, and they took the first.
You know what bothers me the most?
Go on.
Is that they'll play against Damwon Kia after. So again, we're going to have 2 APAC teams meeting up against one another. That means at least one of the APAC teams will proceed if they pick it up. But hey,
team that can keep APAC is APAC.
That's exactly it. And one of them will go down to the lower bracket to complete the run. Who knows? Maybe we get a full APAC final. That would be something different compared to the usual LATAM finals we've had so far. Either way, the executive office and CEO will be chosen, so we won't see the tellers coming out from the side of Spacestation. And for them, it is key that they start performing now, because it is 5-3. An extra round and Na'Vi will find themselves up onto map and match point, just like Elevate is currently on that other side of the pond, or rather, the wall that we have out here on the stream.
The
room.
The room.
Where it happens.
The room where it happens.
Yeah.
The room where it happens. 5-3 Na'Vi.
Manny will understand. But
yeah, a little bit. 5-3. Na'Vi and SSG have taken their timeout. They've sort of had a moment where they've gone, this is slipping away from us once again. We need to try and bring this back. And last time they had in Chalet an unofficial timeout where they'd lost all the players within the opening minute and then just sort of had Skies sit in a corner behind a tree and talked it out. And then they came back with 3 rounds. They came back upon, they knew what they needed to do and they knew how they needed to apply it. And here, if you're an SSG fan, you're hoping for the same because they've already proven that they can have these team talks and bring the pace back to what it is, because you don't want to be sitting on map point when it only really takes 1 and you've still got a full site rotation that you have to get through. You want to make sure that you can at least try and have a little bit more stretch.
For sure. Small opening being made here to allow Blur to push through whilst the barricade is still in place. We'll save a little bit of sound, a little bit of information that you do not give out to your opponents. And as I'm quickly looking around, everybody's currently on that top floor on the side of SSG. Fultz playing in the elevator. Blur coming in from the open area right now, has 2 grenades in pocket, and if he finds Skies, he's currently playing on his drone inside of Janitor. That could be a free kill to come through. In the meantime, the rest of Na'Vi is also setting up. They're putting up the pressure here, opening up onto Kanto, having someone ready in the lobby. Fultz will definitely be receiving some pressure soon. If not soon, well, then it's definitely going to be a bit later, but Doki is right below him now. They know he's out here. A grenade could be used, or maybe even a Gone 6 to make him drop.
There
What a shot, Doki!
He found him, he had the read, and he surprised Fultz. The floor is alive. And it's live, and that is an unfortunate moment to lose Yowamai. Those discs, they can become huge bits of intel and support later on, even just to burn through anything that gets thrown up to that corner and to take him out in such a manner. I mean, it was a trap well laid, and they've been able to once again get this opener. Slowed on the approach here up the spiral stairs. There is a singular player and a couple of grenades in the pocket here, and without that Wamai, those discs now, they're so finite, and we have to remember that that ban on the Jaeger, the limitations of that ADS, that was Na'Vi's request. That mirror window's popped open. Rampy's in a very tricky, well, a slightly trickier situation. He's just going to burn that smoke canister to make sure nobody gets to swing up. And in the meantime, around the backside, Blur has gone for the creep. There is another mirror window to be watched.
Oh, this is so smart because they don't expect him to come down here. That's going to be another kill. Skies gets picked up. It's the Yokais now out of service if there was still any left. Doki now coming around the corner as well. He's going to find the Maestro there. Finds the feet, but not quite the kill. Goes prone to secure his own life as Nave is coming as well to help at the very same time. Secretly finds one. Yet another one will drop. Are they going to be ending this round in a flawless fashion? Yes, they will. Na'Vi are on map and match point.
2 flawlesses in a row, either side of an SSG tac timeout. And this is that Na'Vi that there was these conversations about when they're in the server on their day. They're terrifying.
They're asking right now, Doki, did you just random spam me?
Oh,
the answer is yes.
That's was making a hole for a nade.
Yeah, and Fultz responded.
Unlucky.
It's very unlucky because he had no clue. It was just the right timing at the right moment. Right moment at the right time. Right place at the right time. There we go.
I mean, for all of us talking about how it was a great play, apparently it wasn't Intel driven. It was just those things connect at that time. I mean, I'm still going to call it a great play. And the fact that Doki didn't know it was going to be made. Yeah, you know, 6th sense.
He's just creating that hole, gets the kills like, oh, I guess I don't need to grenade Vault anymore, or the elevator anymore, because I cleared it out. It's probably a bunch of watts coming out from his team at that point.
Yeah.
Either way, 3-6, Na'Vi. Singular round away. 3 opportunities to lock themselves in for the next round.
It has to be a flawless side rotation.
It has to be.
Has to be. And that's that sort of risk I was talking about before is, you know, if you're on that 4-6, you can, or 4-5 even, you can drop 1 and then go back to a preferred site where you already have a success on. Here it has to be an 100% success rate. They have to make sure that they can connect the dots on every single site, and you have 3 different thought patterns being thrown into that at that point. You have 3 different conversations and decisions of, well, this has to hit the mark, and this has to be that sort of connection. Monty might be gone, but Blitz has shown up, and we'll see how he's able to have a connection here against the Orcs.
That's it. The Orcs is out there. I doubt it is actually going to be for the Blitz play that Nave's going to bring. I think it's more so something to quickly rotate up, and look at that. Blur already inside the service right here. Rampy will pick up a first kill, however, but the creations have already been made. The rotations are there to hit the site. And that is a big worry here for the side of SSG. The hatch, however, is open in the small side office. Skies is not playing around as Bosco actually looking through that hatch. He's looking to find the default plant spot. And it doesn't seem like they're aware of the fact that the hatch is open, which means he could pick up a free kill here.
They're just waiting to see it swing round, and yeah, as you said, it's open, but Nate's going to see if he can stick it in the meantime, pulls back. They're trying to bait some utility out here, and they're not quite able to have that solidity. It's the reverse shield plant. It's what we talked about with the limitations of that Monty, and when they went for it before, there it is, done once again. Rampy's opening himself up a stretch here. They're waiting for the C4 to hit the ground, and just out of range. There's that take. They were almost connected with that plant. It could have been a very different story, but now they've lost that entire place. They've got to see if they can try and take some of the mantle of the pressure from above. Secretly and Hot and Cold get into a confrontation with Secretly getting that lock off on that rotation play. They still have, obviously, the player above the hatch who's going for a little bit more movement as well to see if he can try and put some response, and there it is. Bosco goes big, cuts off saves on the second story, and Secretly is now dug in on the corner. He's not entirely sure where that truly came from. They're seeing if they can see where they went, and it's Bosco with another. Rampy's locked in. And at this point now, it is SSG. They went for a taller hold, a little bit more spread out across the map itself, leaving just Blur by himself with the kit. Going for the slow crawl through open. Finds a fight onto the first, but Castle doesn't massively need to take this. So Bosco, I believe, has just hit that hatch and got out of there. Yep, he's back on the site at this point. And 45 seconds, they're not giving him anything.
Now, Blur's just gonna play this one nice and calm, at least I would assume. Spots at the hatch that's closed, gets spotted out by the camera. He's just rotating around right now. He's instead going for the Oryx, it seems like. Rampy, who's playing inside the janitors currently, is gonna be the target here. The proximity charge actually doesn't go off. But it doesn't matter, Rampy just checked the corner and we'll be able to find him. Not quite sure why. If he just looked at it, yeah, he just looked at it and found him. But a nice shots were coming through from Doki earlier on. And they tried to go quicker on the side of Na'Vi. It just didn't work out. And it was perfectly read as well by SSG, because the hatch being opened up in that small office is key for that as well, because that basically takes out one of those plant spots. At least dealt a lot of damage as well to one of the Na'Vi players. And that grenade, I just have to say though, the Nitro came just in time. There was little time left on that plant for it to work out, and then it would have been a different story. Suddenly Na'Vi would have control of that site and at least the time. But hey, we're going back to the open area. 2 more rounds are what is necessary for SSG to push this to overtime.
2 more rounds, SSG, 2 more different sites, and 2 more ways to stop Na'Vi, who have, for the first time in this showdown between the 2 teams, stumbled on their attack, otherwise flawless up till this point, and they'll still have that mentality. They'll still have that in their boots and make sure that from this point onwards, they're going to be able to grow into just that final sort of collapse, that final sort of clarity here. If they can get this 2-0, if they can give themselves a really big statement across this upper bracket, then it silences a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, a lot of people were actually looking at SSG after they went through the groups, and they said, okay, they are looking very solid here. They have a good opportunity of pushing through. And it might just be that it's not their day, and it might just be that Na'Vi is suddenly revitalized in this tournament, and they're starting to show up even more than they did before in the group stage, which is that big help. I like the mirror window next to the shield setup, by the way. It allows you to peek out from 2 different ways. Of course, it's always going to be a matter of how much will it work in the end. It will really depend on whether or not it will be countered quickly with X-Skyros potentially, or maybe even some verticality there where it's possible. Of course, not directly on that mirror window, but in general. And as it seems like Na'Vi wants to take that top floor control, it will be gifted to them yet once more. But you gotta be careful. Nitros are always still a thing. They could be ready, they could be there. They had dealt with a pulse before as well, so that makes them a little bit more anxious about it. You cannot just swing in, because you might lose your life as a result. Not that there is currently any. Not that there is currently any few holes or lines of sight created. But you just need to pay attention to the fact that it might be there.
Na'Vi, they've been able to get themselves in and almost suffered just from the spray through. A good call there, and it does a little bit of scrape damage against Blur, but Obviously, when that's a gun, I believe it was firing through at least 2 soft, and it was at a hole in the first, but still, you're going for penetration damage at that point, and it's not going to do the most unless you're able to connect with a little bit more of a vital organ. Doki's droning himself down here. SSG aren't offering too much in terms of an extension. They're not giving away that loose player. That, to be fair, Na'Vi have been very good at closing down at this point so far. Doki, he wants to try and get that vault. He wants to try and get himself up onto that side, but can't quite find it, so instead, we'll have to look for the alternate ways down.
And the rotations back into the teller's office are currently being locked off here by Blur. He's creating the ways to stop them from happening, and as he now finds his way into the janitor as well, as grenades to be tossed out. Those are going to be dealing small amounts of damage, or at least force people out of their positions. But with a minute left on the clock, they need to start pushing soon. They need to get an entry here on the side of Na'Vi, and with the hatch still being opened up, there's always that opportunity of C4s coming in from below. So this is going to be the trouble now for Na'Vi. Where are you going to be pushing from? Are you rushing in from the tellers? Are you going in from the kitchen and put yourself up to the complete opening there? Or, as Doki is attempting right now, getting a grenade through onto those main stairs to try and hopefully take out the player that's out there?
I think that's it right now. Is SSG, they've realized not to hand anything out. They're not going with an outstretched limb here. Bosco takes a huge chunk of damage, and Rampy is finally going to potentially be the first to rotate up there. Doki's looking for the fight on the opposite side. A canister pops, and the pings are coming through. They might see if they can try and get that connection onto that player who's trapped inside that corner, but they don't have to move, and there's a handful of seconds. Rampy gets the first, and Saves is looking to go for a hop-in, but with the opening next to him, it's a very dangerous play to make. Nate has to hit the ground here at this point with that kit, and there's no one from Na'Vi that's truly sure about where they want to go for the approach. Secretly is able to find one. Bosco with the trade out. It's a cold diffuser in the corner of a room, and SSG, they find their second.
The time has been starved out here. And that means that we are headed towards round number 12. The last round that Space Station need if they want to push this back to OT. The pressure is still on, and Na'Vi still have a tactical timeout ready. And actually, as I say that, it will be called. The game will be paused for 45 seconds, and they get the opportunity to speak about what went wrong and what needs to go better. They know exactly where they will go. Lockers and open area have been locked off. That only leaves the CEO and tellers, but considering the CEO has been played before, it might be the case again. You have to, however, be aware of the fact that it started off with Doki getting a bang through the hatch, which was not meant to happen. After that, every single member was looking now from the lobby side towards the actual site, and we had Blur pushing in from the back. He was able to pick up some kills as well. That distraction is also something that should not happen again. You should not be able to make that happen twice.
Tellers and archives is where we head on to for this final potential hold. They're not going to opt for CEO. They actually had that decision and conversation during the timeout in Na'Vi and decided, well, let's go for the mid floor. Let's go for somewhere that we haven't seen yet and see if we can get the connection. Obviously, as you were pointing out, it was a little bit of a misstart when they went through before, the loss of the body on the hatch of a lucky pre-fire. But here, Na'Vi know the importance of locking this out now. One more round separates them from continuing. Otherwise it's OT, and then otherwise it's maybe a third map where it's back to an initial drawing board, and for the first time in a while, back to level footing.
Yeah, it is, and I'm actually happy that they brought the sledge on the side of Na'Vi instead of the operator that was locked in before, which was the Thatcher. So still, you know, SAS, still same guns, just a bit of a different kit. But more importantly, verticality, which, as we discussed before, on this side is absolute key. You need that top floor control, everything. That is the only thing you need, because as soon as you open up the entire floor, there's nothing really where they can play anymore, no safe space at least, and that allows you to just push on from there. You could go for a plant, cover it from above, because there's no way they can enter from.
Here they still have themselves set up with similarities. They have that castle, they have that stretch mirror. You assume is going to set herself up here inside Janus with one of those windows. It becomes a power position that needs to be fished out because of how much intel it gets you on that stretch of windows all the way across the CEO and exec.
Bit of a weak point, however, if you're looking at the stock area. Currently, no one of SSG is trying to hold that off, so the whole hallway out there leading into Janitor is completely opened up for now. If Na'Vi do realize that, they find themselves a way in, and as the mirror window has been deployed, watching towards the Janitor, there's also going to be Na'Vi that need to figure that out quickly. Drone from Doki will be doing that exactly so. Nave actually finds it first with the Twitch drone. Drone, however, gets spotted out, and I believe he just got shot as well.
Yeah, there was a bit of a ping there. They saw the player and they're trying to grenade fish them out of there, but they've since moved on. At this point as well, obviously, they've actually got the mirror window slightly further back. The second, was that the second Twitch drone?
Yeah, I think it was. Oh, no, just use it. It was a standard drone.
So that was their standard starting drone that got caught there. And
oh, it was the actual drone. What's going on?
I'm lost.
I'm so confused. Did we just see a BattleBots episode come
I think
through?
we just saw a little bit of robot pause.
Either way, the mirror window's still closed. That's all that matters in the end there. And even though we might have been a bit confused about what drone was which, the grenade is now being used to try and get rid of it, but it bounces back in an unfortunate way. Doki not able to pick up that kill. Saves, however, is at an angle where he could try and challenge the mirror window and the player right behind it. If he does that, of course, he gives away his position himself, but it might allow Doki to start pushing through. Secretly already below, he's looking to try and find any potential rotations right here, and he could be in a crucial position as well. It is just a question and a matter right now for Na'Vi of getting that very first kill to really put themselves into that second gear.
They're looking for time here. They're looking for a coordinated way that they can get in, and so far, SSG, once again, aren't giving them anything. They've kept themselves at a long arm's reach in the territory that they have now control of. SSG is seemingly happy to give it over. Apart from this, Nath has found his way inside the site, baits out the first, the smoke, and the cover from Skies gets dropped. Now it's Houghton who has to go down and big, and they're able to take care of it secretly. There it is, a huge take as SSG just entirely closed back in and around the site, and I said they handed it over, and they are more than happy to take it back. 6 apiece, and we are going to OT.
We are headed up towards round 13 here, and Spacestation managed to lock it off. It's Houghton that drops through. It's him as well, who went for the wallbang blindly through the actual smoke canister, finds the diffuser carrier there. That stops the potential, 45 seconds in favor of Na'Vi, who now head back towards the defense themselves and have an opportunity here to play it like they want. They're not headed towards the tellers first. The open area is where they'll go, considering they've won that twice. It is probably their best bet.
All right, SSG, you're over onto your attack at this point, and that was back and forth, but it opened with you on a successful take here. Open was the one that actually sort of was a bit back and forth. The first time and second time, Na'Vi were able to get the close down, but the first was because of time, and the second was they just entirely locked you out, regardless of how much hard destruction you bought. This is a change, though, because instead of playing that hard destruction game and instead of potentially going up against that, they've got themselves the Thatcher, they can get rid of the electricity, and they can try and utilize the grenades that might have been used to get rid of that utility in a different way to try and force the player out from stopping them go for the impact trick at that point instead.
Right, the prep phase is currently ending. Everything is still being set up, and as we head into round 13 soon, Space Station, that brought it back to OT. They needed to win 3 in a row, and have done exactly that. Some might have been closer than others, but they played it perfectly, and Na'Vi, as they try and go quickly into lockers, unfortunately they failed, and ever since, SSG have managed to get some momentum. And the tactical timeout wasn't able to turn the tides, and as a result, right now, Na'Vi find themselves again onto the defensive side, where they need to open up in open area to try and make sure that at least they head into another map and match point situation, rather than try fight off a map point. Blur from below, playing again with the pulse. He's trying to give as much information as he possibly can, hoping to make sure to find someone out there repelled up or not, but also call that out. Figure out that indeed no one is coming from that side of it, so you do not really have to worry about it. And as there seems to be a bit of pressure coming down from ATMs, it's actually Rampy that just made his way up to the top. Actually from that side, will repel all the way up. He's not going to put any pressure down on the CEO.
Hot and Cold is looking for that pulse, looking for that player that's trying to pull as much intel as possible. And we talked about the power that obviously those C4s offer and what the pulse in that position could be. And it's nothing that Na'Vi have always dealt with. They haven't always tried to stretch themselves into that position. And well, at this, they're going for that slightly different hold, a slightly different play and take to see if it can offer themselves just that little bit extra. Rampy eyeing himself down white. Skies comes with that clarity. That close down is often quite quick here. And previously, if you missed the first half of this game, it was Hunt Doki. And they really were very good at it by the end of it. And here, Doki's not giving himself that. If we talked about SSG on their defenses, closing things down, closing that door and not offering Na'Vi anything, it seems like Na'Vi are trying to learn a little bit of the lessons before.
Gemini Replicator trying to get some information out here. Sees that the main stairs are clear. The tellers are as well. Skies is following with the drone and spot a rotation out there. That might be a way in, but 70 seconds left on the clock. A bit of verticality is being played, and Zixcaras are being set up to create an opening on the long way around. There's always going to be that small angle watching the jump in. Doki having the opportunity to try and counter Bosco if he decides to go for an aggressive play as such. Angles are being created still. They want to see into that small office, and that's exactly what they do right now. More utility is being pinged out, and Rampy, well, he finds a way in. Flashbangs are being tossed in as well, so that will probably be Bosco trying to follow up on it, or at least make sure that this wall gets opened up.
Rampy now, he's going to try and drive his way down and get that loose player. 30 seconds though, and that's the important factor at this point, is time. It has punished SSG on this push before, so instead they're going with a slightly different tack and take. Into the site itself, they're eyeing up the hop in there from Bosco. He's being droned out. He's got an important fight with Doki that's about to pop in, but secretly is caught and it's battled back, but SSG keep themselves in that momentum. Sudden explosions and a smoke canister on the far side. Blur needs awareness. The pings are there, the pop, and it's a fire down through. They don't get the full connection though, and Skies is going to try and take it. Hopped over and a triple kill for Rampy. One more! And the quad of Rampy. He's looking for the ace, but in a post-plant situation, he has gone huge to solidify SSG with getting that on the ground. Saves. Nothing in his pocket, but a big gun to try and swing round in 3 different directions does not make it easy, though. They're above, they're behind, and they're in front, and he's well aware. An uncooked grenade to waste a handful of time on the diffuser itself, looking for anything, but SSG, as I said before, they've perfected the game of do not give them anything, and there is a player that's perfected the game of I want an ace.
And what a time to land it as well, in the moment of their need, when they push it all the way to OT, and they're starting to get into it now. This is when SSG gets dangerous, when you allow Rampy to make a play like this. 1 and 2, it was actually Nath on his drone, had no clue he snuck in that far. And it could have shut him down so much earlier before he even got that first one, but due to the drone, due to the utility actively being used, it is SSG now finding themselves on the map point and looking to push us towards a map number 3. Clubhouse, the decider. And they head to the defense themselves now. The lockers will be the battleground that Space Station choose to try and lock everything off of. And again, the warden actually will be brought out. Not an again, but a first. And that is due to, of course, potential smoke executes that they tried to go for before. When they went with the shield on the back and tried to make sure that they could get the plant through, it was a C4 that eventually caught it at the very last second. But you cannot keep relying on that. And this is where the smart glasses come into play. It's not just that. Just check it. No, it's an MPX. All right. So I was going to say normally or sometimes you also see a warden playing those blue stairs on the servers just at the start of the round to ensure themselves that when flashbangs do come through, you can still try and challenge back. But SSG is a map point up right now. Na'Vi need to find 2 in a row if they want to lock this off 2-0. Because if we're headed towards Clubhouse, suddenly everything is even again.
7-6, SSG. That's it, that's the drive we said, and we said you needed a perfect 3 rotation. Now you've tacked on the 4th for the end, just for good measure, and we're back to any choice, any selection, any sight. RV, they found themselves so close to locking this out, grasping that one final round, and as you said, it's a bit of a sleeping giant fight that I called at the beginning, and SSG started to rise. Started to be a little bit in this fight, in this expression. Rampy is a bit loose and a bit wide right now. He's toying with the idea of dropping his weight slightly further down.
Yes, and as Doki is just holding for now, he's waiting for the drones to provide him with some crucial information. He's starting to take that top floor under control, but it's only, well, step number 1. And as long as the Oryx is still out there and hatches are intact or could be broken, he has the opportunity to jump through them and retake that top floor after Na'Vi have just cleared it. It's going to be an entry fight here. Doki, the first one up against Rampy, but both fall back. Neither is willing to commit right now, and Says is setting up more air jets to at least keep everyone put. TP dart that gets used on top of saves, and as it doesn't lend any damage or anything like that, because it won't. It is the cam that gets taken out. Our breaching charges are being used, and that will create extra openings. It's a very top floor heavy roam coming through from the side of Space Station Gaming, with Skies and Rampy currently
not on the site, able to fall back. The same goes for Fultz. It's 3 men up on that middle floor, and as soon as the first frag will go their way, surely they'll drop through the hatch. Na'Vi takes a lot of damage from the verticality there, but no actual kill has come through on either side.
Doki is trying to find his way in, but you look at that minute marker, he's right on the door, and there's a shotgun.
He didn't know.
Behind his scope. He couldn't get the angle there on Fultz, and that's one of those frustrating deaths, but now you got to see if you can try and push it a team kill, but Rampy still gets the kill onto Secretly on the far side of it. He's being flashed out, the shotgun swings and locks the door twice. Fultz, 2 in the same place, and Nath, well, he's got 50 seconds, and he's able to find 1, but you're still having to go down towards the site itself, and there's already been so much lost. 3 C4s in pocket. They can entirely bait a utility game at this point. It doesn't really matter what Nath and Blur have in terms of smoke cover, because it's just going to be rebuffed by well-timed C4s, and really this is SSG's to drop at this point. Going to smash themselves some width here, going to give themselves something else to work with. They might try and just smoke out that connector there and get some coverage. The heat and the fire is able to get 1. Hot and cold from the far side goes down. The mirror is safe. They're going to get smoked and blanketed in cover, but it's the grenade that gets a lockdown. It's a 2 versus 1, and the shotgun is going in close. There's the C4.
Sniped.
He gets shot out, and Nath is going to be able to
this!
He just finds it, and unbelievable take by SSG.
He just goes for a blind shot through the smoke, finds it somehow. The pellets find a way, and it's actually going to be Spacestation that take the round after it looked like Na'Vi was going to be able to turn it around at the very final few seconds. And now SSG pushes over to Clubhouse, map number 3, where they will have to try and lock it off. And the same goes for Na'Vi, who is so close to push it to a 7-7 there, at least find themselves into a post-plant situation. But in the end, it didn't matter for them. They almost made it happen. The smoke, the fire, everything was in place. It was a 1v2. The C4 even gets sniped, but the shotgun pellets are not.
It was so close. Taking the C4, the repositioning, it was a blind swing with a shotgun to get that final kill. And it connected, but you've got to take into consideration that the previous 4 rounds were SSGs as well. They fought back for that, and now they carry that over into our 3rd map, which is Club. A good map for both these teams, and a real curious one to see who just has that little bit extra energy and momentum from the previous 2.
That is going to be the big question here, of course. SSG have just managed to get a lot of momentum after they got 5 rounds in a row. But there's a little time now to talk everything over, and we will head to a very short break as well.
And welcome back, everybody, here to the 6th Invitational. I'm not quite sure. Ah, there we are. I was going to say I'm not quite sure because I heard something in my ear at the very same time.
It was like a... and then we had...
Do we go?
We still
do we
made
not
it.
go? We still made it. We're still here, and there is still going to be a map number 3. Nothing has changed. We've just aged 5 minutes. That's about it.
Yeah.
At least I've aged 5 minutes.
I think the players have aged a little bit more.
A little bit more, maybe, yeah.
We are on our
Stress is
third
rising.
map. NA. Apparently I heard the same thing happen on the other stream as well. Elevate weren't able to lock it out. Spoiler alert. But both games are now on the third map, and which is, you know, we're on a best of 1 at this point. We're on a best of 1. It's none of that extra point, little point, take. It is one person stays up in this upper bracket. One person gets that extra life, and the other, well, doesn't. There's the breakdown of the previous map, and Na'Vi were close. They had 5 rounds on map point, including obviously OT, so 2 of those wouldn't have been an instant win, but still, it was a final thread of 5 rounds that SSG, including a huge ace from Rampy.
Yeah, the huge age of Rampy that definitely did help. And it wasn't necessary in the end because there was 2 players out there, one on a drone, the other one roaming. But overall, the stats, 8 entry kills went towards Spacestation, 6 of them went to Na'Vi. Basically the scoreline, but it didn't mean that an entry kill secured the round. 3 plans for the side of Spacestation, 1 for Na'Vi. 2 for Na'Vi, sorry, excuse me. And there was 1 flawless for SSG, 2 for Na'Vi. So, you know, it was pretty decent, pretty balanced out.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you know, what it is. It's that sort of unfortunate situation there for Na'Vi is they just couldn't quite find that last tip.
Yep.
They had gone flawless on attacking across this map and the last up until a point where they just needed 1 more. And then as soon as they needed 1 more, suddenly SSG, they throw themselves back into the mix. They seemingly had an idea of what they could do. It was offer Na'Vi nothing on this approach and sort of punish that last 20-15 seconds that had otherwise been at this point. Sure, Na'Vi was making these late pushes, but they were very good at getting at least 2 kills before they went for it. And that body difference is it's apparently vital.
It definitely was vital. And it leaves us now in Clubhouse. There's going to be multiple sites to go for. One is Church, Arsenal, it's the bottom floor, the basement, for those of you who do not know. Then we have CCTV Cache, Gym and Bedroom, those are the top floor sites. And then Bar and Stage, which is a site I've advocated for myself for a very long time and eventually did get boosted and buffed a little bit. It's totally my for me. No one else had anything to do with that.
You just, I mean, you were the Oracle.
I was. And now it gets played. Maybe I should become a fortune teller.
I mean, I would appreciate if you didn't, because then I would, you know, what would I do?
Yeah, that's true. Well, you know, to start the round, this is going to happen. These guys win. Easy. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's it done.
Like, I'm like, well, cool. I could tell you how this is going to go down with my casting partner, who is a fortune teller.
It's
and
not really letting us.
Truth has just sort of said the result, but this result is still up in the air, and that's good for me because I get to shout about 2 great teams going up against each other on Club, a map that 2 great teams get a great stretch. They both know how to play Club well. They both have had generally successes on this map. Obviously, nobody's perfect, and they probably, you know, have had
too much brain capacity.
But here is their time to take it with Na'Vi opening up on the defense once again.
And they're opening up. Let's see how they will fare here on Church Arsenal. And to those of you who are new to Siege and you are only just tuning in for the very first time of any competitive match in Rainbow Six, as per usual, first of all, welcome. We'd like to have you and hope you are enjoying your stay. And second of all, Clubhouse is one of those maps that a lot of players will play. As soon as you hop into ranked and it shows up in the map ban phase, you can almost guarantee that it will be chosen. And it's for some very simple reasons. The map's been around for a long time. It has been reworked just slightly over the years, but in the base of it, it still plays relatively similar. We're going towards that bottom floor first, towards that basement, and there is some key things to do, which is to open up the hatches onto that first floor and to find a way into the side to go for a plant, which is often a kitchen drop, and sometimes it involves a triple wall from the backside.
However, what makes it difficult is the roamers that are currently out there. Na'Vi has some people who are not on that basement. They're walking around and about, and if you try and open up the hatch straight away, people like Nave, people like Blur, they will come and strike true and make sure that you have no opportunity of opening up these hatches. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. They need to clear it from the top to the down first, otherwise they just need to rush the side. That's the only other way really around it.
False has got himself set up here, and he's just clearing out anybody that might be onto that garage side. The Spray and Nath is still playing loose and aggressive on the top. There's another drone, but caught reloading. Not going to be able to get the drop on that. Was curious about the window hopping first. And with that drone just behind him, they're going to have that read. You can see the fire. It was coming from the player on the top. There's also been a drop on logistics too. Oh, he is in such a tight spot, but still wasting as much time as possible and still trying to find little pockets to move. There's a C4 ripped and thrown over. It's a change of explosives, but neither truly gets the full catch on the other player. Another drone. Nath is absolutely taking all the focus of the world right now. He is entirely stuck here, and his life is at this point potentially going to be forfeit. Another reveal, another drone, another potential swing round, you assume, maybe. There it is, the burst of the Zephyr, the burst of utility, the spray, and not quite able to get the full connection. Changes to the shotgun, and still an extra 30 seconds from the first reveal, and finally SSG have that kill, but you have to give credit to Nath for sticking it out on the top floor.
It must have been such a stressful 90 seconds for him there. There's just nothing he can do. He's getting stunned, he's getting flashbanged, he's being shot from the back, well, shot from the front as well at the very same time. But it's the roamer that has been cleared out, and that allows SSG now to start opening up towards the side. That means that hatches need to be opened up, and that's exactly what Skies does with one of his exothermic charges, as he's rotating around, and actually will use one on top of the blue hatch as well. So the kitchen one will stay closed for now. They will need to find a different way to deal with it, but instead of opening it up, it seems like there will be a triple take. An EMP comes through, and Selmas will be tossed in as well. Blur needs to go for a bit of a trick, but he realizes it's already way too late, as he arrives just at the wrong time. Hot and Cold spots ahead, but secretly finds it first. He finds the return frag and at least keeps them even here, as Bosco will find one more. 35 seconds. The hatches are opened up. The wall is opened up. What kind of plan is SSG going for here?
That's it, 30 seconds. They're going to have to do a bit of a sharp execute here. They've got themselves a bit of a space and a bit of a stretch. Faults with the drop down onto blue in an important fight, and a pre-fire doesn't go his way. Doki has that locked down on utility box. Now with the hot pings, here's the cover towards the plant. It's attempted and stopped on the door. One last player. He's able to get one more, a reload, and a little bit of a shaky one of that. Doki's out of bullets, and he's out of there. He just pulls himself back, and he's able to find an escape with secretly on the cover. Na'Vi, hold in.
They locked the door, truly. We're able to win the gunfights that mattered in the end there. First of all, the return frag on the verticality, where it became a 4v4. After that, the blue won crucial. The kill in Boiler really helped Na'Vi to carry it across there. And that puts them in the lead here and will push them up to bar stage as well. My favorite site, not because it's good, probably because it's very bad still. We don't see many victories coming out of it yet. Quite a low rate, but it's probably due to the fact that CCTV is just so well known by everybody, and Na'Vi, they might be looking to throw a curveball here.
Bar stage, and well, Na'Vi were a team that, I mean, when they first rolled out their hold, it was then lifted by EUL teams the next playday, the next week, and I can't remember what team copied it. I don't want to say it loud, but it showed that they had a good idea. They had a bit of a play, a bit of a stretch there, and you started to see it get replicated inside EUL at least. So you assume SSG will have had a bit of a thread about this, will have had a bit of an idea of the play that Na'Vi wanted to do.
Now as the other room gets very loud yet once more. The room map number 3. And we'll only try and figure out whether or not we'll have a guaranteed APAC team in round 3 of the upper bracket, or if it is going to be the Sonics that take on them on Kia, who are, it's so weird to say still, an APAC team as favorites for the entire tournament. That is currently what we're at. Stokey is looking to find some aggressive pre-fires out to the outside world. It's not allowed. He's not given anything. He's in the actual moment currently being pressured, I believe, from a little bit of garage presence from SSG. Falls back as well.
There will be, obviously, a bit of a fight for attrition over onto that stage side. Rampy's going to make his way, I'm not sure entirely what he's cautious of at this point, but you assume he's heading to the top. He's just going very slow, maybe from a dirt peak that might have come out but you've got to be a bit cautious sometimes. It's not really what they're leaning into, at least for now. Skies is breaching himself across the far side. They're getting control of Strip and getting that big wall open by Billiards to try and get a connection there potentially, but it's also an option, and an option is a very important thing to have open on a site like this where suddenly on Club you might have to very often pick up sticks and go from the exact opposite side. It's kind of 2D in some respects, where a lot of the pushes are on the opposite side. It's not sort of a second way into the same route. It is just a big long rectangle to a lot of these pushes, and that approach is a take. Doki, he finds faults. He removes that Zephyr, removes those sort of plays and stuns from range.
It's going to be the very first kill in the hands of Na'Vi as well. 90 seconds, and we're playing on bar stage. A good spot coming through. They know one is inside logistics underneath the hatch now. Blur might have actually realized as well that he was being spotted out, and as there is going to be a big rotate from Houghton as well, it seems like they might be going for a stage approach with the current remaining members of SSG and their locations. It is yet to be remained to see, though. Skies will open up the wall right behind it. That will at least be another step into the right direction. An opening, as you may, onto the site itself. Secretly, we'll see this happen now. The hatch is currently not under control of the Na'Vi players, and that is crucial as well for this hold, or at least the attack. You cannot afford someone to be on that hatch and stop you as you try and go for a plant. So, as a lot of the utilities currently being taken out, Houghton Colt moves his drone just a little bit more to try and figure out where these players are. Rampy in the middle of the kitchen here is going to find an entry kill as well. Doki gets picked up, and now he's afraid of the player that was seen before inside the Logi. Skies wants to go for a planet very soon. They need to make sure that the top floor is fully under control.
That's it. It's a long stretch all the way, and there's obviously still a C4 and some impact in pocket. Secretly, he's under a bout of pressure, but he's got that little collection of Salvation Station, and that Field Doctor is in. Saves, takes Hot and Cold out. And Secretly, he's trying to respond to the positioning, but Kitchen is still live and active. They have the call on the player in that point, and, well, you've just used those pickups, 15 seconds and a swing round onto Lounge Door. The far cover of those flashes and a big fight on the back stairs is a 3 versus 1. Bosco does not have the kit in his pocket. He only has a handful of seconds, and bar's closed. Na'Vi, second in a row.
Like that one, the bar was indeed closed, not really letting any of the Space Station members in, and where they managed to pick up some kills here and there around the kitchen, they weren't quite able to punch through after that. And 0-2 is the current score. Na'Vi again starting off strong like they have done before. Think of the first map, Chalet that was, where they managed to get 3 in a row before it was SSG that fought back. They're now getting there. It's 2-0. And if they manage to find just a couple more, then suddenly they find themselves in a very good position yet once again for the remainder of this map.
Gym bedroom, and we'll see if, as you said, we can get that rotation from them. It's obviously sort of steadily making its way up to the top. CC, you'll see less and less as time goes on in a lot of these engagements. If we talked about it on Bank, where in this sort of attacker preferenced meta, a lot of those early holds, a lot of the ones that you spent the most time theory crafting on how to break because they were the standard first picks, they have now found themselves swapped into that weird position of, well, people have run it so much, they've spent a year cracking those codes. Give them new codes, try a new sort of setup, and that's why you've sort of seen it fall out of favor.
For sure. It is just 2 easy steps. You get the wall open, you get the garage under control, and suddenly there's a free way to plant. And the only thing that will really stop you are throwables and time, of course, in that matter. So, O2 and SSG, they are still yet to find a round. Gotten quite close here and there, at least at the start of things, because they managed to get an opening on the very first round. However, they haven't quite been able to punch through yet like they were at those final 5 rounds we saw on Bank, where they basically were in a match point disadvantage even, and they just decided to win everything from there on. Maybe they just need to be poked a little bit by Na'Vi. Na'Vi needs to reach that 6 point first before they become that immortal SSG with Rampy just acing it up.
Well, here it is across the top. They're just going to roll the thatch, and with him on the board, these walls aren't going to be the toughest thing to break through, but it's the step 2, that arm's length hold, that might prove the problem. The wall kicks its electricity back in, but obviously with it not being there and not having a corporeal form, that's not the biggest worry in the world. Doki, he's still sort of playing around red. He's looking to see if he can try and find a way out, but there's a drone Well, there's 2 drones, and there's one right there. You go. And now he's revealed. But he's still over in this position. There's a 3rd drone that he's just seen there, and that's going to get out of there. And so is he, actually, because he's realized with 3 active drones on him how much attention is being paid. Fultz wants to creep up red, and, well, he wants to slip out of there before he's dead.
Doki's still playing around here in the construction areas, receiving a little bit of pressure here and there, but nothing too big for now. The wall opening is going to be there, but no pressure really, as no one is out there to push through it. There's actually CCTV cache that got completely, well, forgotten about by the side of Na'Vi, and Fultz and Bosco will gladly take control as secretly. Still, Bullock is looking for a potential flank later on. Doki hiding in a big corner right here. It's the default corner to hide in if you want to hide in this side, but it often does get misdroned or not droned at all. And if that's the case, due to a player standing up and being inside of it, might draw away the attention and allow Doki to get a free kill on someone that drops.
They have themselves stacked up. With a minute left, they're still going to see if they can try and piece together some information. They've done a lot of clear of the space around, and sometimes we've seen SSG be in a good position to just capitalize upon this. Blur drops the Prisma. Not the Prisma even.
Oh, he got droned out.
There he is, droned out in the corner. There's a grenade that bounces its way around. Doki's able to slip away. Another drone, and more of this pressure that comes through. And now with Fultz down and out, it's secretly from underneath. The secondary kickback shotgun, the super shorty locks in. There's Rampy driving himself through to get 2. Instant response and revenge. There's one more for Rampy, going huge on the gym side. Hot and Cold suddenly has it on the split. They're going to see if they can stick it, and Nath is all that's left. Sees one, goes for the swing, finds the planter as well. 15 seconds. They know exactly where he is. The impact connects, but Rampy is that buffer back and pulls SSG through that round.
This is what we call the Rampy insurance to come through in the end there, even though it might seem like they might not be able to win it in the end. I mean, he aced it in round 13. This time around, he just walks around the corner and finds every kill before he takes a single point of damage. SSG find a round and are looking to push further. It's just 1-2 now. It's just round 3 to happen, and you're seeing it here again. It's a double kill, turned into a triple in the end there, and well, he's also one to swing the corner and find that very final one. Really keeping SSG into these rounds, into these games even at this time. And now, Church Arsenal coming up yet once more. It's the tertiary side that was lost by the side of Na'Vi, so no big deal yet. As long as they win Church, and as long as they win one more round afterwards as well. That is when they will be feeling comfortable. Otherwise, we're going to have every single half end up in a 3-3. Every first half end up in a 3-3.
And it was a Gemini replicator. I called the wrong invisible woman.
You said Prisma?
I said Prisma. I mean, it was always going to happen at some point. When you have 2 versions.
It happened before as well.
Wow.
But it's fine.
Listen,
I mean, I also call them
words.
Prismas every now and then.
I say a lot of words.
We are permitted a mistake every now and then.
Just one. And then we're fired.
Please.
2-1. Na'Vi, they've lost their tertiary site. That's not the most out there thing. It's down to SSG to see if they can apply the pressure here down onto Church. And if we throw our minds back, so much time was wasted on the top floor by Nath just valiantly refusing to die. And I'm curious to see if SSG try and have an alternate take for that. It seems like there's obviously still a little bit of a pressure and presence above, but otherwise not enough that's really slowing Na'Vi here. They've actually already found themselves trying to apply some flat pressure here with Blur being that only buffer. So much drone work is coming through.
So another drone work coming through, and Blur now sees the drone and tries to fall back, but also here's his best that has just caught another one. Or at least the first for this round. And that means a drone is in his pockets now. A drone is what they can use to try and get some information. And if you then see that there's currently 2 C4s on the board as well for the side of Na'Vi, you might actually be able to land a kill or 2 with it. Especially when Rampy, you know, he's using this far angle to use the verticality, not with a sledgehammer. So you're really not going to be able to counter that with a nitro cell. That one, however, what did he place it at? I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, so he placed it, but then he stopped placing it. And now an EMP is coming out. A second one will be deployed, but that will be too late. He's indeed not going to go for it. Nath is going to give them that hatch. It is what it is. And one extra thermic left in the pockets of SSG.
That's going to be dropped on this hatch as well. It pops around the same time, and they're able to get Moto open a lot quicker than they were before. They're still ignoring kitchen hatch. They didn't go too much into it before, but obviously they have the Selmas, and last time they threw those down from that little double door onto basement towards pipes or past it onto that church wall here. They're doing the same thing. Same approach, and whether a claw hits the mark or not, it sounds like it hasn't, and everything is slowly being popped around. You can hear...
Something worked.
Yeah, the walls.
One of them stayed close. I think it might have been an impact or anything that went through the first one. I'm not quite sure. Either way, they I believe they tossed 3 of them. Only 2 of them detonated fully in the end, and that gives them some openings, but also a bit of safe space for the last members of Na'Vi to play behind. The drone gets a lot of good information here. Bosco knows these positions, but he's not quite committing yet. He's not quite pulling the trigger as of yet. And Sage does it instead. He just swings around from the hole that was made by himself, and as a long angle is being attempted here by Fultz. He's not given anything right here. Another swing. As he gets the first, he knows the one is inside dirt, but he's not quite able to connect those shots at the end. 30 seconds, and they need to push on SSG's side.
They have that single player so droned out and isolated and surrounded, and Skies actually goes down in amongst it. Hot and cold as well. Saves, picks up 2 more, and he's the only one inside that church. But everybody's praying to him. Nath has the back line and a huge dig in there of an entirely isolated Saves.
Managing to get 4 kills from there on, and it all started with the perfect timing for the swing. As soon as the crosshair went from the angle created by Bosco up towards the hallway to see if someone was holding a tight angle, that's exactly when Say swung around the corner with the SMG, took the head clean off, and that starts it off. Suddenly the main stairs pressure is gone. You know, there'll still be people dropping down into blue or inside of motorcycle, but that's fine. That's 1 angle less to worry about. 2 more to go. And as the pressure was going down from blue, it was someone else that was holding it off at that given moment in time. It is Na'Vi that put themselves up into 3-1. And again, they're going to bar. They're not trying to go to gym, or they're not trying to go to CCTV. And let's see if they can pull it off again, if they're going to be able to find success yet once more.
As I said, it's a sight and a hold they like to do, and even with the pressure that was coming through onto Kitchen, with Secretly still being able to do what he was behind the bar, it made things really awkward for SSG. They opened up a lot, but couldn't quite find the right route through onto the site. Here, they're potentially going to go, I would say, still start with the same take onto the billiard side and try and lock that in, but it requires, for me, a little bit more verticality. It requires a little bit more of the control of the players above, and we know that they can do that. We've seen how good their drone game is and how intense it can be on their approaches here, and if they can just try and find a way to shake that top floor hold, suddenly this site becomes a lot more possible.
Becomes a lot more possible indeed, and it comes down to a couple of these choke points, really. And Na'Vi held them well the last time around. Yes, they lost an entry in Kitchen, but that's fine in that case. I actually like how they leave one of those walls open. Of course, there is no reinforcements left. It might have been a mistake. I'm not quite sure, but they can challenge it with the mirror window whilst denying a long angle down the hallway at the very same time as well. So, interesting to see whether or not it will be used, as Doki gets an entry yet once more against Hot and Cold.
Yeah, I believe that was just a swing from CC window and just able to take care of it. It was. They had themselves prepped in a position slightly off site, and there he is, showing those little hints of the player that opened this up in a huge way. There's the breach on the heart, so they can have that wider swing angle and the ability to not get entirely caught off by any of the players inside. And now you look at the cost there. That Thatcher's gone. Kaid is in a much better position. Saves doesn't have to try and juggle those from range as he was before, and he's still got one in pocket.
Thinking about it now is like, did I use it up there? Am I going to use it elsewhere here? As Fultz is looking to push through the launch, is going to take the top floor under control now. They know that construction is a crucial place to have if you want to go for a plant near the stage area, but Blur is still inside logistics. Still has the opportunity to just swing around and use that mirror window as well. So Fultz is not really in a safe spot right here. He's just going to hold tight. He's not going to try and make a push happen as of yet. As long as Blur is just dancing around right here and there's no drones coming in from SSG, they won't have a clue that's currently not occupied.
I think that's the thing about Blur right now, is this is being held by one. They've got grenades coming in underneath. That one goes a little bit too far. It can't quite get the full connection. There's also the opening on Jacuzzi, so he's concerned about the rotate on the main stairs. There's also logistics hacks, which is open. Really, there is no safe space for Blur. And, well, as that is going to get that pop, Miro has to fall back, or you have to fall back from the mirror window at this point. Miro themselves is behind the bar. Blur has just found himself on that mattress. He's using it for that bit of protection from the pops on the window, but a minute in and...
Spotted.
That's it. Faults. He's going for the swing round. Rampy has the lockdown, and suddenly there is this singular player above. As I said, the verticality is going to be a huge part of this.
Yeah, for sure, but Nave, he's trying to stay put here. He's right behind the gym, right behind that reinforced wall. Bosco is right next to him, but he doesn't even know there's one on the window. As he swings him, that drops the diffuser. That's going to be costing some time, and Nave is going to be able to escape as well, as Rampy and Bosco tried to shut him down from the hatch above. And now they need to recover it. It's not going to be far out, so not a lot of time lost. However, the big issue now is that Nave is inside the strip club. So even if you take full control now and you try and plant from the billiard side, there's always going to be that one player that can come up at the end from the back.
Baited the Gemini replicator to see if they can rotate round, and Doki did not fall for it, but I think he'd shoot anything that moves at the minute. Anyway, the swing onto stage. They've dropped themselves in. They can't quite get the diffuser down because Bosco's being absolutely caught off by that player on the corner. It's the triple kill, it's the pistol, and it's a quad for Doki, who locks it out and puts them onto 4-1. One more here on their defense. Assuming they go back to gym, can they fix the mistakes, or will we see a fresh CCTV?
That's it. Are we going to see a new site, or are we headed towards the gym? It seems like it will be the gym for now. And by the way, that was the second time in a row that Na'Vi were able to win the round on the back of a quad kill there. So, well played by them, or by the individual players. It's not just them, of course, but they were really enabled by the setup and the pressure that was being held elsewhere. 1-4, Na'Vi are in a good position here. After they won that first map, they had the opportunity to win the second after it was a 6-3 lead for them. It was turned around, however, by the side of Spacestation, and they were able to run away with it. Pushes to first of all, overtime. They won it then, and after that, we find ourselves here at Clubhouse, where it all needs to be decided. And for now, Na'Vi, good half already, 4 rounds in their pockets. It's definitely something they will be happy with. But they're looking for that 5th. They are looking for that extra bit of security there, that extra mistake that you can afford at the long run there. Because, you know, we always talk about when you're 6-3, for example, oh, you cannot afford a single mistake right now. It also goes the other way. If you're 5-1 up, that means you can make 4 mistakes to some extent.
You have options.
Goes both ways.
But they made 5 mistakes before and then lost them bank here. They want to see if they can try and solidify even more momentum before they have to head against an SSG defense. SSG, I mean, they were able to capitalize on this before, and it was very well put together. It's the change of a little bit more of a stretch onto strip by the looks of it. We just had a Gon 6 pop somewhere, I believe. Was it? Or am I just
I heard something.
Imagining sounds?
I'm not quite sure. What else do we have? I don't know. It could have been a Gon 6 pop. It could have been on a window that's out there, because that is opened up. So it's a castle barricade that they removed quickly.
That would be it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you just hear audio and you're like, what was that?
Where did this pop?
Where did this pop?
Sounds like this.
Chances are that window, based on audio, was some part of the hold. And it does, you know, it's a quick lean in. You know, you're going to try and apply pressure from that, and you can do it from very far away. As we're seeing here, Rampy is paying as much attention to it as possible. Bosco's with the width. They have, obviously, the Thatcher, so they shouldn't struggle getting through this as soon as Houghton can make his way over there. Doki, well, I'll get to him in a second, because secretly he's been able to take care of Bosco elsewhere. They lose their Selmas. Now they only have those hard breaches. They only have those exothermics, so they've got to make sure that they matter and mark. Skies suffers a little bit with Saves playing this with a claw as well. They have themselves the chance to try and trick this. There's going to be a roll over the top of those EMPs. We just heard them pop off, and whether they dedicate everything, there's a reveal of Doki on the far side of CC.
Yeah, and they're aware of it, and there was someone out on the balcony as well. Foles is debating going up here, and as he makes the noise, Doki is like, okay, that is exactly what I wanted. You've just, you know, walked right into my trap card, but Foles actually decided to not do that, went off right again, and is going for a rotate now, and is looking to go for an entry here. It's hot and cold in already. He's trying to find a feed of saves, and as he takes quite a lot of damage, we'll find eventually their Electro Claw. But no kill yet on the side of SSG, and that is what's going to be hurting them in about 60 seconds from now, because there is still that man advantage from Na'Vi. The only real access they have currently is that Jacuzzi wall, and now into Gym as well, if they've opened up that castle barricade.
They can see the rotation, but there's a player underneath it secretly. Once again, he might be able to cause some problems. In the meantime, Saves is doing more than enough on the site. Dropped in an exchange with Rampy, getting a spray onto Doki on CC, so it's a 3 versus 3. But with 45 seconds and a player still underneath, it's going to be a burn of the utility inside. That grenade is trying to go long, get rid of the camera, make sure they don't have the cover, and that loose player in Logistics secretly is waiting so patiently for this to come through. We've seen him punish the verticality before 30 seconds, and the closer this gets to 0 as he's revealed on a drone, the more dangerous this might be. He can rotate out, but he doesn't actually have to. At this point, they have an idea he's underneath there. Instead, they're going to put the pressure onto the site. Rampy finds Saves. Blur is a backline being attemptedly blinded every single second. They don't need to go for the swing so directly. Nath goes for one of his own, finds 2! Can't get the third. Skies is all that's left with 10 seconds, and a player's on 2 different stories. The first is a shotgun. He is playing this so cautiously, and it's a 5-1 half for Na'Vi.
There we have it, a very good half coming in from Na'Vi. 5-1, 2 more rounds is all they need in the next 6 to find themselves in the next round of the upper bracket. And that is what they'll be aiming for. That is what they want to achieve after they were picked by SSG to be their opponents. And Nath there with a great double kill with that Alda. Of course, it is the LMG on that back line. It is always going to be difficult when you peek it 1 by 1 because it won't have to reload for quite a while. And Na'Vi made good use of it there. Now headed over to the attack. It is Church. That will be the very first site, just like they had themselves. And as the Buck will be making an entrance here on Saves' hands, it will be used, of course, to go for these vertical openings from a distance to put yourself into safety from potential C4s to be tossed up. Only 1, however, in pocket for Spacestation Gaming and 3 smoke canisters. That's the utility they have available to stop plants. And I only assume that these impacts will be used to try and keep hatches closed for a little longer. Of course, with the Hibana removed from the board, should be quite successful as well.
Now, V, only 2 separates you from continuing on through here. And SSG, they're going to see if they can try and start to pull this back. They are a good defensive team on this side, or on this map even, and out of the 3 maps that we've seen, this is one that does play well into the defensive halves of both these teams. It's why we've not seen as many food for thought moments. And to be fair, with 2 rounds coming off the back of 4Ks on Na'Vi, it's not like things were massively out of reach for SSG. It hasn't been those sort of starting halves they've suffered before. The approach comes here. The pressure is on Na'Vi to see if they can try and have the collection of their earlier attacks across this series. The way that they were able to find these loose players and punish them was pretty consistent. And we know that Club can be a map where that can still happen. There is a tall stretch for a lot of these teams.
I think they might have just spotted out a player rotating up to the top there. Stokey that already dropped inside of the logistics area. He's going to be hunting down those roamers. Bosco that has been spotted. It seems like he might be aware as well because he's looking through the rotation that has been made. Doki's a bit further back. They probably have an idea that someone is right behind the mattress as well, and as Blur is trying to put up some of that pressure, we might be seeing a bit of a double team coming through right here. Rampy takes a lot of damage. He's forced back. It's the first kill to come through. Blur finds him. Bosco needs to fall back. It is a man advantage for Na'Vi on that very first attacking round straight away.
That's it. They're able to isolate that player. As I said, it's a game that they do really well, and SSG sometimes only started to come into their defenses when they offered them less and sort of let Na'Vi fall down on their own slower clears into a pressure time situation. They've pulled back pretty much entirely. I think there's a loose player that's still making their way down. There it is. Hot was just coming down from the far side, and they're entirely in sight. They're going to play against the time, prep themselves some impact tricks against that kitchen hatch by the looks of it, and well, this is it. This is where Na'Vi sometimes get a little bit slow. They get a little bit stuck, and SSG are going to hope that the time that they banked on the top floor is enough to mean that the push on the site is one that they can still stick behind.
That's it, and they still seem to be afraid of a potential player being out there, and that might be due to the visual playing below the bar in Motorcycle using the ERC7, which means that those lines are still appearing up top as well. And with that, they need to be careful. They need to clear everything out, try and make sure that indeed he is not out there. So smart usage of the gadget right there. It seems like now the call came through. He's not here though. He must be downstairs. And they start opening up faster. They are just kicking themselves into 4th gear right now, looking to execute on the site very soon. As Nave is going for a big rotate around. They might go all the way over towards the dirt tunnel. I'm not quite sure. Or maybe even inside the kitchen. As it seems like they want to open this one up. Yeah, indeed they will.
Yeah, that's it. They're trying to get the limitations onto the kitchen hatch here. They're making sure that they can't get caught by impacts from underneath. There's 4 for the defenders to play with, and only 2 exothermics, so the flashes come through to make them try and miss those hits and shots. And Hot, he is playing just on the far side there, suffers a shoulder of damage underneath that moto hatch, but with it being closed, he is fine and free to just sit in this corner, and Hot can pop through, gets one that was trying to slip their way through. Nate's going for the stick, but that's an easy pick up there for Hot and Cold. He drops the drone on the pick back up. Blur goes down in amongst the smoke, saves, can't quite find his way around onto the fight of anybody at this point. Pre-fires the angles, but the time wasted on the top floor again came through and punished Na'Vi later on.
And a double kill from Hotson as well, very important there, as he, he was playing around with his ERC7 the entire time below the motorcycle hatch, and that made them wonder, all right, is there someone in the bar? Because, they were quite hesitant about it. But instead of checking it, instead of trying to make sure that he indeed wasn't inside there, he was allowed to pick up a double kill and drop that diffuser, not allowing Na'Vi to push themselves onto map point here. They had a very early entry, they could have had 2 potentially as well, but were unable to translate it into the round. And now Space Station will be headed towards the bar next. They continue the rotation that was started by Na'Vi.
Bar and stage. Now we get a taste of a different region and a different style hold on this. We've seen out of any of the sites, this one has obviously had its own face the most because it's been developed across this year. It's been sort of coming into its own with the recent changes, and that means that that initial flavor is always going to be the most distinct. And we've had that taste. We've had that sort of growth shown throughout this tournament alone. Here, it's still going to be a stretch above. You're still going to have some of those similarities that are consistencies. The castle is going to give them a little bit more protection. It gives them a little bit more width. There's no mirror, which was an extension that was utilized by Na'Vi. It gave them that bit of a swing and an extra.
For sure, and that makes it a little bit more difficult to hold on to some areas, but maybe with the different operators, you excel at others. Opening, big opening inside that wall, kitchen hallway, just to make sure that he can challenge the stage if any plant comes through. And the bulletproof cam will ensure the exact same as well. The information of someone to be on their flank, on the plant rather, or not. Just a quick punch, of course, can stop that. As, again, an opening made. I think this time it was by the impact nade that the Sophia carries rather than a gun 6. Blur only has 1 left and starts to open up in the garage, and that shows that Na'Vi wants to push in from this southern side. Take it under control, take that top floor as well, and make sure you do it quick. There is an opening, however, I believe already in construction I just saw. I'm not quite sure how that came through, but as Blur continues his pressure onto CCTV Cash, the saves that will join him now, and already the flush that starts coming in on the SSG side.
That's it. They're making sure that they have all these angles. They're putting their width and their pressure onto getting control of construction, because then you've got the stage to work with underneath on side, that stock side. You can hear that width and explosion is coming through. That single wall gets dropped as well, and suddenly there's no comfortable way to play in, but there's still reverse angles. You can, with the right gun, go aggressive back against it. Stage wall will fall. Nothing to intently stop this, but the stack up of every other position means that you've still got to try and have a fight to get your way in. There is obviously the reveal of that Prisma outside that's making things a little bit awkward, and that one definitely is a Prisma. There's the Gun 6 utilized because the grenade didn't quite get the catch before, and that consistent irritance of that external icon is going to be something that is just going to sit with them.
I don't think they really care too much about it. It might block some lines aside, but that's going to be about it. And as the first smoke canister just got pushed in by Fultz as well, there will be 2 left. Bunch of time still on that clock, and they will have to deal with that identity hidden at all given time. And secretly now that locks off the bar hallway. That stops a lot of the lines aside as well, and basically only leaves it up to Fultz to make sure that this plant will not push through. And if Nave then decides to go in deep soon, it will probably be Blur that follows up as well, or at least secretly someone to try and make sure the kills go their way. Rampy gets the very first. They do not know any of the positions of the defenders that are still left on that board, still left inside the bar, and as Bosco and Skies both pick up a kill with a jump out here, it's Fultz that takes a little bit of damage but doesn't quite get punished for it.
Now, Nath has found himself a little pocket of space, but it's a 4 versus 2, and they now have verticality. You can see them moving above. They're looking for the angle. They found it, and just in time, he found the plant there, and everything has fallen away from them. SSG, lock it out. 3-5. They are pulling themselves back in a round at a time.
That's it. It was 5-1 before. It's 5-3 now. It's starting to close up ever so slightly. And with that, just an extra round. Suddenly it's just a round difference. SSG Need to complete their rotation though, and they'll head towards the gym. This is where it went wrong for Na'Vi. This is where Rampy just walked in and got a 4K instead. And made sure that they were able to at least pick up a singular round during their attacking half. As we push over to that gym, we see 6-pick from Aruni to the castle. I mean, you know, the Aruni catches these projectiles that go through. Deal small amounts of damage, but it's quite easy to deal with. The castle, to some extent, fills a similar role. You block a line of sight, which is something the Syria Laser Gate doesn't do, but at least takes some utility away to burn it. The big difference is it doesn't recharge over time.
All right, this is the offsite. This is the one that was obviously the only one that slipped away from Na'Vi on their defense. And if SSG can get this, they're off to technically a better performance on their defense so far. I think if this goes away from Na'Vi, we'll probably see attack timeout in the conversation from the EU team.
Yeah.
And see if they can try and pull some of this back together. It's still got to come together, but you look at the last two defenses from SSG and they were solid. They knew exactly how they wanted to stretch out Na'Vi. They've learned all the lessons they needed to, and that's that little thing that's sort of missing Na'Vi, is they're not able to find those bites that offered them so much previously here. With the approach coming around on, once again, the garage side, once again, this bit of a split. There is that single player at the top there in a bit of a position as they slow crawl their way inside cache.
Drones are coming through. They're trying to put up the pressure here on Folds and Bosco inside that cache room. One of them gets spotted out. The second one might be hidden for a little bit of things here. Just trying to quickly, Lucas saves opens up that full CCTV wall. There's going to be the reinforcement as well coming in from the red side of things. So there's no way they can just push through there, but you could maybe find a grenade from above or open it up with an exothermic charge and get someone in a position to hold up the rotation. Exactly what Blur is doing right now, but he gets swung on, and Folds and Bosco both pick up a kill. It's a 5-on-3. Suddenly SSG have a 2-man advantage yet once more.
That was it. They both suddenly popped up and they had an idea of where the players were. Secretly's grenade is going to go over the top and gets it down onto Bosco. Foltz, he's concerned that somebody's going to lean through, and as Secretly burns himself a hole in an angle to try and pick up the next kill from. They're just going to watch. The second grenade is ripped over the top. There it is, bounced, and there is Foltz. Damage, the wall is popped. Finally locked in by Nath, and Nath with a double for a bid and blow of revenge. They've obviously lost those two players on that extension, but they've been able to remove obviously two from their opponents as well, and that's that big trade-off at this minute.
Castle barricades are being knifed open right now to ensure themselves a bit of visual inside of the construction area. As they are preparing, making some noise to ensure that no one hears that they're on top of the roof. They just need that, that bit of stealth to make sure that they could drop those hatches in the end. As they push through. Wall open up in Jacuzzi. They just need to find one more entry. That's all Na'Vi need. They need to find a kill on either construction or the bathroom, but both seem kind of out of reach for now.
They have an awareness, or they have a caution towards logistics hatch, and a couple of bullets are fired across the bow, but Houghton isn't moving anywhere as of yet. Saves is just sort of waiting for a player to maybe go for a reverse peek. He hopes that he is entirely silent and separated here, but 30 seconds, and pretty soon somebody's going to have to try and make some noise. There's the drone reveal on that player, dropped, and there's a second one that wants to swing in from construction side, and Houghton still just holding off two players at bay. They've got to offer some support here to that far side player. There's one, there's the split, there's two for Houghton Cold, and he has entirely shut down that approach. They tried to bait and buoy that person, but he stays swimming, and that is 3 in a row for SSG.
And that is the logistics lockout there. They needed to get a kill on either the bathroom or the logistics area, and they tried to go with 2. Unfortunately for Na'Vi, weren't quite able to lock it off, and that leaves us at a 4-5 situation now. SSG just a singular round away of equalizing the score and putting themselves in a position where they could fight for a map point and a match point as well. Almost perfectly synchronized there. A little bit of a delay, which eventually cost them, and a tactical timeout, as you mentioned, has been called. Needs to be called as well, because it's starting to slip away from them. They haven't been able to find any success on the attacking side of things. Na'Vi have the need right now for that talk. They have the need to speak to their coach, who might have a way to find a way through their sites. I mean, they're going back to the same rotation now, to the same sites they've played before, so if there is a time to adapt, that is definitely going to be now.
I mean, they need to, because as we said on the other sort of turn of the half, it's a map that both these teams can play very well on their defense. A 5-1 is a lead, but in this sort of situation where SSG was so comfortable and so confident coming into this side that they didn't need their timeout. They haven't taken it. They were happy to sort of trust, yeah, 5-1. That's what it is.
5-1, it is what it is. A 4-5 is the current score. However, Houghton will be bringing back the mirror. We're headed towards Church and Arsenal for a last 3-round sprint. Either team can still take it here. There is no overtime yet in sight. Of course, Na'Vi, they need the least amount of rounds to lock it off. But by the way that these last 3 have gone, it's going to be a difficult fight for them. As I mentioned before as well, the only real saver for them is the fact that they have played these sites before. They have gotten to the site, let's just put it up like that, because they didn't really do much more than that, than get on the site. But that means that they have an idea of the hold, of the setup that Spacestation have ran in the past.
There was a lot of time that was lost on the top as well.
Yes.
Huge amount of time that was lost. And with Na'Vi, that, you know, it wasn't even just that the kill happened, but then they had to clear, and we saw it, the slow clear that happened over the next 30 seconds, 40 seconds on that mid floor. And as soon as that came through, suddenly you see them burst into life. But that difference, that has really just been that stump of Na'Vi on that final slide in.
Now, I think it's important to mention as well that the Vigil is no longer there, and I really think that Vigil was the reason for that slow clear, because those squirrely lines, as you keep calling them, they keep popping up every single time he uses the Area C7. They had no clue that the bar was completely clear at that point, and as it's gone now, Na'Vi have a easier way of clearing everything out. They have an easier way to see if indeed everything is clear, because they can trust their sight. And you see that they're already speeding up quite a bit. There is already Doki inside of New Blue, just secretly looking to go inside of the lounge, and Saves as well, right above in the bar already. They can start opening up these verticalities. They can start opening up these hatches if they get rid of the Electro Claw, I believe, that just got placed on the motorcycle hatch.
Blair is giving them some more angles with those soft breach charges as Save starts to try and crack his way through. Obviously, it's more of a reserved hold this time from SSG. Both bodies and both players that were roaming before are headed instantly down onto the site. This allows secretly some time to start cracking open this hatch. Hot and cold with the C4. It sounds like a pre-placed one potentially, but they're opening that from a lot of range. They are not risking being directly under that and almost punish him for it. Takes a huge bout of health damage there, and with the grenades that are theoretically going to start rolling their way down, that means he's got to be a little bit more distant to them than he might have otherwise wanted to be.
LMG being used right here to create some extra angles, not the actual skeleton key, which could do the job just fine. Saves is currently on that drum. Na'Vi looking for an entrance. It seems like they might be wanting to open up the kitchen hatch, which is currently electrified, but that's fine. You don't need that to be not electrified. You can just place it right next to it. That Knave is currently doing. This might be a bit too much. He's taking quite a bit of damage doing this, but we'll get it right in the right spot. Needs to make sure now it doesn't get impact tricked, however, and it does open up the hatch. They were just too late.
There it is, and I'm sure you'll be, people who have not known that you can do that will be doing that from now on. It is a way to play that, but it's obviously more dangerous with impacts and ways to stop it. Rampy, he's back on the third box, looking for a long-distance firefight against Nath, who is very low. This grenade is just going to get caught out before it rolls close there onto the mirror window. They also have the body behind A case as well on the close corner. Wants to roll a second one down, but doesn't want to entirely lose that utility, so swings around to the rotation on the opposite side. Here's the burn. The flashes go through, the first two caught, and that's that got rid of. This grenade is now pressured utility, but there's a chance to swing round from underneath. They've rotated off at this point. There's the pull, there's the release. Where's the player? No longer back there, and they instantly swing back as soon as that grenade goes off. Houghton's able to find Nath. In the meantime, on the drop on the hatch, they lose secretly on the far side. One more for Houghton, one more almost. Has to reload that gun at some point, but luckily for him, there's players to offer a cover. Doki drives himself in, but no time. 5 each.
The time again is being starved, and you say it, it's 5 each. That means we're headed towards a bit of a sprint now, an even more sprint. Whoever wins this first round is putting up the pressure upon the other. And by the way, it's been going. I'm favoring SSG a little bit here. Because again, timing seems to be an issue on the side of Na'Vi. They just dropped the hatch even though they had no control over anything else. They needed blue for that matter. They needed to be able to pick up Houghton, who was behind those AKs, just taking you down one by one as you drop that hatch and fall right into his line of sight. But as they didn't, they found themselves on a 5-5 now. And a bar stage is about to be brought here by SSG to try and reach that 6 mark first. But the way it's been going, they might be successful with it as well.
I think that's it right now, is this has been a flawless defense. The exact opposite story to how Chalet opened this, with an entirely flawed defense from their side. And, you know, it wasn't that it was entirely one-sided. Obviously, Na'Vi had that statistically, but it was close. A handful of these plants, 1 or 2 different connections or 1 or 2 bursts of wasted time, and well, that's where we'll be at. That's where we'll sort of be sitting at here. And this time SSG, they've obviously learned those lessons. Club is so familiar to them. And Na'Vi are just struggling the same way they did in the latter half of Bank. Here, they're going to see if they can potentially go for the stage take. I mean, they got a bit of control above. They got a bit of control on the side itself. But from that point onwards, they just could not find a kill. SSG gave them nothing. And then as soon as they had to try and push the side, they pulled themselves a bit further back. And then they retook as soon as they could.
Yeah, for sure. And as the breaches are about to be put up, again, pressure is coming down. But the big issue here with Na'Vi is that they just starve themselves out of time at some point. They just don't find the entry. It's SSG that is holding themselves back perfectly and are finding ways to starve Na'Vi out time and time again. It's secretly now that takes a ton of damage, I think, from a run out, either from the locker here, the freezer in the kitchen, or no, actually, no, I'm not quite sure what I came through. Possibly the window in that case. Either way, a lot of damage done, and that's one of your heart breachers quite low on HP now, and the rest of Na'Vi's trying to push up from that top floor. They're trying to take control quickly and steadily, but as they find these reinforced walls, they also realize that they're not quite able to push right through it. It is these electric claws that stop them from proceeding too quickly. They need to use grenades to open it up, or EMPs for that matter, and as they do that now, they created that opening before to make sure. That Sky's from the back. Sky's going for a big flank here. Snicks himself right up the rafters right here, and as he gets himself near CCTV, could be absolutely detrimental to Na'Vi.
There it is. The first comes his way. The second is a bit of a fire over the top of Red. A hop down and a catch potentially onto Lounge. He's surrounded and he's got caught, but not before. He did a huge bit of damage and was able to entirely remove Doki from the equation. They're going to see if they can try and push themselves through here as that gets popped open with, obviously, pressure on the board. Those walls aren't going to last too much longer. The reveal on that camera, once again, Blur with some width here onto Billiards. They've got themselves some lounge control. They've got their options open. There's a fight that might happen that they're concerned about, but it's hot and cold from the long range. With a gun that works very well, buried all the way back inside Strip. Volts has crept his way closer with those smoke canisters. It's just going to force the players off the lounge in 50 seconds. They're trying to reconvene, but above is under control of Rampy. And Bosco's gone for a drop down, a rotate, and a catch. The diffuser is cold. 40 seconds, and this is what I'm talking about. They'll lose a bit of control, they'll lose a bit of sight, but they'll just go back and steal it. They're more than happy. And with a pistol almost looking out saves there, but it's a 2 versus 1. They know where the kit is. They know where the diffuser is. Saves is just a pocket for the time at this point. The default still being up after all of that. Hands Bosco a catch. Hands SSG. Map and series point.
They have it there, 2 big flanks coming in from the side of SSG, providing them with success. And as round 12 is soon to get underway, of course, first the operator picks, the 6th pick that comes in as well. But after that, the prep phase, those last 3 minutes start now. And at that moment in time, there is nothing Na'Vi can do except for play a flawless round. And I said it before, the extra round that they've won onto the gym gives them the extra mistake they can make, the extra slip up in the round to ensure themselves of a map win. And it seems like they might need it, because it has come all the way down towards 6-5 map and series points. SSG, who's shown incredible resilience, being 1-5 down and able to bring it back here. Now, 6-5 in front. They have that slip up, but that does mean OT. That is something they do not want to head for. The pressure is on Na'Vi. Who is being locked down to the lower bracket? That is the big question.
Time will tell. Time will tell, and it's down to Na'Vi to just find that one connection. And here, on Jim, is the only last place they can make it right now. After being so close to locking it out on Bank, it has since that moment, since they needed one more round on Bank on that attack, they have lost every single attack round since.
That's it. That is not a pleasant sight to look at here. Na'Vi was looking like they might have been locking it off in a quick 2-0 fashion. They now find themselves around behind. Incredible, important round. Number 12. Is that hop breach? Okay, I was kind of...
it was like half a hop breach. It was like
half a hop breach. He jumped, but he didn't breach it. Probably for the better of it. Rampy was quite close back then and could have picked him up easily. Imagine if he just accidentally did that. That would have been insane. Either way, he didn't. And that means Na'Vi's still in it. There is the exothermic that pops off. It's the first amount of damage done to the side itself. It seems like a jacuzzi take is the ID that Na'Vi has. That's what they want to push for here. And with a lot of the members of SSG currently off sides, currently around the CCTV and cache area, if one of these grenades finds a target, if one of these grenades opens it all up, there's going to be the opportunity to just rush it through, just double that pace and make sure you get that planted down before any of these SSG members are in a position to actually counter it from happening.
There it is. Rampy's
just doesn't fit through.
A little bit.
There you go.
There you go. He's able to sliver his way through there, and Blur's popping some pressure here underneath. But again, unchecked rotations could be the problem factor that come through. There are drones and pings. They've got the reveal on that castle. He's going to put himself away.
We already have someone, I believe, inside of the bathroom secretly has taken that control. So there is quite a bit of freedom right now to play with on the side of Na'Vi. If they manage to find themselves right behind a reinforcement with that kit, which is exactly what Nave was running for a second ago, it now doesn't feel so safe anymore. Secretly is pinging it out. He's telling you, you can plant there. It is relatively safe. Just make the run for it. And we might find ourselves with success on our hands and a overtime to be inbound. It is Doki that goes for a big flank all the way around. That's nowhere near happening yet, though. Secretly, the one inside bathroom is the one that takes the first front line here, but he gets picked up, and suddenly Nave drops as well. That's the diffuser, lost and gone, and needs to be recovered as Doki takes a lot of damage as well, and SSG is looking to end it all here.
They have entirely capitalized on the defense that they know they can play so well. Saves. He's trying to hold into something to allow Blur some space, but still caught by a bulletproof and by a Banshee. There's just a swing on a shotgun in a pocket of seconds. And as it ticks closer and closer, Saves is at least able to find one to try and fight their way out. Handful of just territory. But the worry is, as they try and stick this diffuser, that this is going to happen. The swings and the impacts. They don't have a cleanliness, but Saves has a swing. Can't get the last. It's a cold diffuser. It's just Blur looking for one. They're long gone. SSG from the brink of dropping it in the second. Pull it all the way till the end of the third.
They definitely do, and Saves was almost able to save the round as he got the kill on the player in construction. Decided then he needed to go for more. He went off that rotate, off that plant, through the rotate, dropped that diffuser, and unfortunately not able to bounce off of that. And Spacestation Gaming able to lock in map 3 with a 7-5 victory, knocking Na'Vi down to the lower bracket.
It's a frustrating turn for Na'Vi there, being so close to the security of the upper bracket, and then since being unable to just stop SSG as soon as all the players were in place of the defenses they wanted. Well, they had the defenses they wanted.
They had them indeed, and with that, you know, you said it yourselves, after the last round in Bank, round number 9, they weren't able to win a singular attack anymore. Some mistakes were coming through, and unfortunately for Na'Vi, they weren't able to capitalize on the big lead they had in either Bank or Clubhouse. But that is it for us for now. We'll be back later. Let's toss it over to a quick break.